Chapter 40-55. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Ling Feng made his move. At this moment, Su Yun finally understood why he was called Lightning Ling Feng. That slash that gave people the illusion that it was faster than light was truly unimaginable. Ling Feng's strength was indeed close to the sky-profound realm. When he made his move with all his strength, it really made the other earth-profound realm opponents feel a trace of despair. However, even when Ling Feng made his move with all his strength, Ba Shi did not reveal the slightest bit of fear. When Ling Feng's slash attacked his face, Ba Shi crossed his arms in front of him to protect himself. Ling Feng's slash seemed to have landed on an iron wall. After an ear-piercing sound, Ba Shi did not retreat even half a step. What was even more shocking was that this huge fellow was not injured at all by Ling Feng. Ling Feng's eyes also revealed a trace of astonishment. Many years ago, Ba Shi could not possibly block his slash. But now, he was not afraid at all. This was completely because his golden bell cover had already been trained to the extreme. Golden bell cover was a very traditional method of martial cultivation in Huaxia. In this era where only speed was unbreakable, there were already very few people who would specially train in golden bell cover. After all, this type of martial cultivation method was really dry and boring. The so-called golden bell cover was to use the martial cultivation's true qi to protect one's skin and internal organs. It required continuous and painful training. No matter how strong the martial cultivation's mental state was, they still had to go through the most basic training. That was to let the skin endure the painful friction all year round. The skin would become thicker, harder, and smoother. To put it simply, this should be the skin's protective reaction to long-term mechanical friction. The martial cultivation's true qi was more to protect the internal organs from the vibrations. People with high mental states almost never trained in golden bell cover because there was no need for it. It was just like players in a game. If they were both maxed out and equipped with the best equipment, one would choose a tank with high HP and low attack, and the other would choose an assassin with high attack but low HP. Most of them would choose the assassin with high attack speed and high attack. After all, the majority of people like to be a reaper. If he practiced the golden bell shield, he would have an extremely high state of mind. Coupled with Huangfu Kingdom's secret medicinal wine, vinegar, and decoction to supplement his power. At the highest level, one's skin would be no different from a normal person's, but it would be as hard as steel. Although the Ba Serpent's technique, which looked bloated and thick with calluses, was considered a low-tier technique, the main reason was that he did not have access to the secret medicinal wine and decoction from the Huangfu Kingdom. For a person who relied on self-torture to make himself feel alive in prison, it was already very good that he could reach his current level. So what if she didn't look good? At the very least, Ling Feng's full-force slash had been forcefully blocked by Ba Shi's arms. Do you think that I haven't improved at all after being locked up in this damned place for so many years? Ba Shi sneered and said, "You, on the other hand, only care about being a woman's slave. You haven't improved at all." Ba Shi's provocation infuriated Ling Feng. Onan stepped forward and stopped Ling Feng. He knew that Ling Feng's current state of mind was somewhat unstable. If he was disturbed by the opponent and attacked, he would definitely be killed. Don't take his bullshit words to heart. Onan reminded Ling Feng, "Just leave this guy to me." Although Onan could not compare to Ling Feng in terms of speed, his heavy fists were definitely not weaker than any strength King Kong. Otherwise, the people in the underground world would not call his heavy fists the thunderclap fist. His fists were as heavy as Thor's hammer. Therefore, Onan had reason to believe that he could compete with Ba Shi in terms of strength. "This guy is my opponent," Ling Feng said indifferently. At this moment, he had already restrained the agitation in his heart and once again regained his calm. A Ling Feng whose heart was as calm as still water was quite terrifying. Onan had seen this before. Now, Ling Feng finally revealed his killing intent. Perhaps it was because it had been too long since he had faced a truly threatening battle like today, so he was a little unfamiliar with his own killing intent. The atmosphere on the entire fourth floor changed because of this. Feng Wuyin seemed to smell that special feeling. Such strong confidence is enough for him to defeat any opponent. However, Ba Shi didn't feel any fear from Ling Feng's killing intent. He believed in his Golden Bell Shield. The Golden Bell Shield was originally an upper-level cultivation method in martial cultivation. It was a combination of movement and stillness. Every time he used the Golden Bell Shield, he would store his true chi around his middle dantian. As he practiced for a longer period of time, he felt that the meridians in his body were flowing smoothly. Perhaps this was also the reason why he never knew exhaustion. He was always full of vigor and vitality. The pain that Ba Shi suffered while practicing this martial art was not something that an ordinary person could endure. Other people practiced the Golden Bell Shield from the cloth hammer to the wooden hammer, and finally the iron hammer to hit the body. He started with an iron hammer. Later on, even an electric hammer could not do anything to him. It was not an exaggeration to say that Ba Shi's chest and back were as hard as iron. Not to mention that it was impossible to injure him with punches and kicks. Even swords and sabers would find it difficult to injure him. The bones in Ba Shi's chest and back had long been merged together. It was as if they were a single piece. Ba Shi was confident that he had already cultivated this martial art to the 12th gate. It was enough for him to be invincible and look down on everyone. Why would he be afraid of Ling Feng's slashing chi formed from true chi? There was nothing to be afraid of. When Ling Feng launched another attack, Ba Shi didn't hesitate to meet it head-on. Under the lead of Ba Shi's morale, all the profound Earth Realm felons on the 4th floor regained their momentum. In their eyes, even the powerful lightning Ling Feng could not hurt Ba Shi at all. This meant that Ba Shi would definitely be able to lead them out of the encirclement. As long as they won under Ba Shi's lead, they would be able to see the light of day again. This was such a tempting thing. I'm living here, and living is worse than death. Today, I'm going to fight to the death. Ba Shi's morale was like a rainbow. He had to get Ling Feng. As long as he could get this first kill, their morale would definitely increase by several folds. At that time, no one would care about Zhualangyue anymore. They just wanted to leave this godforsaken place. If they couldn't leave, they would choose to die. They didn't want to stay in this godforsaken place and beg for death. In this situation where there was no way out, Ba Shi and the rest would definitely unleash their most powerful combat strength and break through their limits. Ba Shi didn't expect that he would be able to defeat Zhualangyue. He only hoped that he could lead them to kill Ling Feng or the others. This would give everyone some confidence that they could defeat the Empress. When the others became confident and dared to touch the Empress, he would make use of their delay to quickly retreat and escape. This was Ba Shi's plan. Of course, he couldn't tell anyone about this plan because he would be the only one who could leave this place alive. The others were just pawns for him to use. When the felons roared and launched another attack, the brothers from the Dark Tribe also started to counterattack under An Ying's command. Mu Bekhen felt gratified when he saw An Ying's reaction. Even if he wasn't here, An Ying could still make the best adjustments and control. An Ying was definitely a very good commander. As long as he was a good commander, Mu Bekhen believed that the brothers from the Dark Tribe would definitely be able to defeat their opponents. Compared to this, they were even more gratified that Wu Qiuzi had safely retreated. Furthermore, the ancient Magpie World and Xian Yuanji had dealt with a few fellows who were slightly threatening on the 3rd floor and rushed over to provide support. Even though only 2 people joined in, the impact on the overall situation was still quite big. The ancient Magpie World was an experienced fighter, and Xian Yuanji's crafty moves were definitely not something these fellows could handle. With their addition, Su Yun felt more at ease. Chapter 4056. Although the battle in front of him was fierce, Mu Baichen was still able to keep his heart as calm as water. He lightly said, "As long as one of the brothers of the Dark Department is still standing, we will definitely not let a single bastard leave this place." Zhualangyue also smiled. "If you trust your people so much, I'm much more relieved. Because Ling Feng and the others have never disappointed me." "So?" Feng Wuyin asked. "Can I understand that this place doesn't need us anymore and they can handle it? Don't you need my help to deal with this bear monster?" Feng Wuyin wouldn't put a bear monster with golden bell cover in his eyes. What boss serpent? What was it in his eyes? Based on my understanding of Ling Feng, he is a person who cares a lot about face. If you help him, he won't be grateful to you at all. He will only hate you. Zhuo Langyue said, I don't want him to blame me, so I won't help him. You might not be worried that he will hate you. Feng Wuyin laughed. Of course I'm also afraid of offending people. After all, I'm already so old. He has a much longer path to walk than me. Maybe one day when his strength soars, he will think of me and find trouble with me. So I don't want to make a grudge for myself. Su Yun was somewhat helpless. Then let's continue. Mu Baichen didn't want to delay for even a minute. He urgently needed to know Su Chen's current situation and then make his own decision as soon as possible. At this moment, Mu Baichen's mood was naturally more complicated than anyone else's. Others only wanted to save people, but he needed to decide whether to save people or not. If he couldn't save people, he still had to go against these 3 people. Adding on the people inside, the things he needed to face were really difficult. But no matter how difficult it was, Mu Baichen wouldn't back down. Because he was the Dark Department's revered Dark, why would he need to do something that wasn't difficult? Su Yun followed without hesitation. Mu Baichen threw him a sentence without looking back. If you are smart enough, you should choose to stay here. If it were you, do you think you would be the smart one? Su Yun asked. Mu Baichen did not wish for Su Yun to follow because he was worried that Su Yun's mind had changed. If he were to assassinate him in front of Su Yun, the conflict would be even greater. That was why he said that. But when Su Yun asked him this question, he didn't lie, I've never been a smart person. Without waiting for Su Yun to speak again, Mu Baichen added, smart people will not choose to join the Dark Department. Revered Dark, I really don't know how to respond to your words. Su Yun bitterly smiled. In that case, I'm smarter than you? Mu Baichen added. Feng Wuyin laughed out loud. The fact that you chose to join the Dark Department shows how high your EQ is. Mu Baichen, you may not be as smart as this brat, but your EQ is miles ahead of him. Since Senior Feng has already said so, I have nothing to admit. Mu Baichen said, but no matter how high my EQ is, I can't see through why Senior Feng is traveling with us. Feng Wuyin directly said, you want to ask me, if my disappointing younger brother wants to take the opportunity to stir up trouble, how will I deal with it? Mu Baichen smiled and didn't say anything, but he didn't slow down. Since they had already come this far, no matter what Feng Wuyin's goal was, they couldn't stop and turn back, so Mu Baichen still wouldn't waste a single second. If Senior Feng is willing to say it, I'm naturally willing to listen. Mu Baichen said bluntly. Although I don't want to say it, I can guarantee that I will do it. Feng Wuyin said, if he still wants to stir up trouble, I will personally clean up the sect. I can do things like putting righteousness before family. But if he sincerely turns over a new leaf, I have indeed thought of giving him a chance. Mu Baichen smiled and didn't say anything. These words would definitely make him feel a little uneasy. The passageway to the 5th floor was really far. As they spoke, they sped up. After walking for a long time, they still hadn't reached the end. There seems to be a formation here. Zhuo Lingyue frowned. Feng Wuyin said bluntly, it doesn't seem to be a formation, but there is indeed a formation. The moment we came in, we already entered the formation. Everyone had heard of the Qimen Duanjia, the 5 elements, and the 8 trigrams. For example, Zhuge Liang's 8 trigrams formation was about using ingenuity to break through 1,000 caddies. There were ancient books that said that clouds rose in the formation, as if there were tens of thousands of armored soldiers. In fact, the formation was just a modification of the natural or man-made terrain to block the enemy's path. In addition, there were hidden weapons to disturb the enemy's mind and kill the enemy. However, this place definitely didn't use the 8 trigrams formation. In Feng Wuyin's opinion, the array formation used in this place was made based on visual effects. It was just like the famous Peach Blossom Array on Peach Blossom Island. Looking around, one could only see a stretch of pink and white. There were no landmarks to find the route. Under such circumstances, the Peach Blossom Formation was equivalent to being in a pitch-black forest. One could only rely on their feelings to move forward. At this time, their feelings were not accurate. This kind of subconscious behavior of finding the path would only lead them back to the starting point. There were superstitious people among the people who also called this a ghost going around a wall. The situation they were encountering now was obviously very similar to a ghost going around a wall. There were various versions of superstitious legends among the people. Of course, things would definitely happen in the middle of the night, preferably at 12 o'clock. The location was usually a smoke-free wilderness, an uninhabited alley, a messy graveyard, and so on. Moreover, there were basically people traveling alone. They were clearly walking in one direction, but after a long time, they realized that they had returned to the starting point. In the end, they would circle around the same path or a fixed place. There were even legends that such a situation might last for an entire night, or some people might not be able to walk out of it for a few days. There were all kinds of theories. However, those were all superstitions. At least, Su-yun wouldn't believe it. If this situation was explained from a scientific point of view, the reason would be much simpler. This was because there was a small difference between the left and right vestibular systems of the human brain. It wasn't because of the length of a person's legs and the tendency to turn left or right. In an experiment in the medical world, some volunteers were blindfolded and put on a GPS receiver. They tried to pass through an empty space in a straight line. Almost everyone would follow this winding route. Occasionally, they would circle around. The diameter of the circle was as small as 20 meters. From a psychiatrist's point of view, this was a hallucination caused by nervousness and anxiety. As for the 8 trigrams formation, it relied on a larger range of stones. In addition, the location of the formation map might be a place where airflow converged, causing the frequent strong winds inside, causing sand and stones to fly. The peach blossom formation wasn't big, but it could trap the old urchin for decades. Su-yun and the others should be encountering a formation similar to the peach blossom formation. It also used visual effects. The lighting system here was very good, but other than that, there was nothing else. The entire passage was very wide, but there was no reference point. If we open our eyes, I'm afraid we won't be able to walk out of here for the rest of our lives. Feng Wuyin suddenly smiled. This formation was obviously useful for experts, but experts at their level weren't ordinary people. The difference between the left and right vestibular systems of their brains was extremely small and could even be ignored. Moreover, they wouldn't be as nervous and anxious as ordinary people. With their eyes closed, they wouldn't have any hallucinations. They would definitely be able to focus on walking a straight path. With such a small reminder from Feng Wuyin, the few of them came to a realization. The light here was similar to a formation's guidance to them, which was why they didn't walk on the right path for a long time. With this simple move of Feng Wuyin's, they were actually able to smoothly move forward and continue moving towards the 5th floor. Chapter 4057. Many times, the more you think about how difficult it is, the more you can't find a solution. If you think about things simply, the solution might be much simpler. But in this matter, it was impossible for young people to comprehend it so quickly. Even Zhua Langyue and Mu Baichen didn't think of a solution immediately. Only Feng Wuyin had thought of such a method that didn't seem to be a method at all. In the end, this method that didn't seem to be a method at all had solved their problems. This was really inconceivable. Senior Feng, why did you think of using this method? Su-yun asked in surprise. It's very simple. Feng Wuyin said, close your eyes and don't use your brain to think. Just look at the situation in front of you and use your intuition to feel that you can solve it. The more complicated it is, the more fruitless it will be. The simplest things were often the most complicated, and the most complicated things were often the most simple. There were many things in the world that were like this, especially this kind of array design. It could be considered as designing a person's mentality. When ordinary people encountered an array, they would subconsciously tell themselves how complicated, exquisite, and difficult the array was to break. This was their initial understanding of the array. And in this case, anyone would think of a complicated way to break the array, so it was easy to ignore the simplest or even the most basic situation. Feng Wuyin didn't neglect this point because he had deep experience. When he was young, he was also like Su-yun. He would fall into a complicated cycle and not think of simple solutions. The experience he had at his age was a kind of accumulation over a long period of time. It was something even rarer than wisdom. After breaking the array, they finally arrived at the entrance of the 5th floor of the Mardi Franz Island's serious criminals prison. The way to open the door of the 5th floor seemed very simple. They just needed to turn the mechanism on the side. It didn't require much skill and didn't require much strength. All of this seemed to be a very simple matter. I didn't expect it to be so simple to enter the 5th floor of the serious criminals prison. Could this be a trap? Su Yun was a little surprised. It seemed to be too easy to enter the 5th floor. This didn't make sense. However, Zhuo Langyue said, "It seems that you didn't understand what Senior Feng said just now. You've made things even more complicated." Just when Su Yun wanted to ask Zhuo Langyue what she meant, he was suddenly enlightened. So that's how it was. His thoughts were indeed too complicated. The door on the 5th floor of the Mardi Franz Island serious criminals prison was fine as long as they couldn't get out from the inside. There was no need to set up any obstacles on the outside to open the door. Because no one would be stupid enough to come here and open the door. Even Ba Shi and other felons locked up on the 4th floor would never come here to open the door to the 5th floor. If anyone really did that, it could only be said that this person was too stupid. The people on the 5th floor were Su Chen and Feng Wuhan. Not to mention that Su Chen had always abhorred evil, he was an absolute threat to them. Although Feng Wuhan didn't abhor evil, he wouldn't let them off so easily, as someone who practiced the absorption technique. Therefore, the door on the 5th floor did not need to be designed too much. Just when Feng Wuyin was about to step forward to open the door, Zhuo Langyue suddenly did something that Su Yun and Mu Baichen found inconceivable. She actually launched a sneak attack on Feng Wuyin from behind. She directly placed a sharp dagger in her hand on Feng Wuyin's neck. If it wasn't for Su Yun shouting for her to stop, Zhuo Langyue might have really cut off his neck. This dagger was called Soul-Seizing Blade. It was short, exquisite, and priceless. It could be said to be the #1 dagger in the world. The soul-seizing blade had always been on Zhuo Langyue's body because it was the only gift Su Chen gave her. Feng Wuyin didn't guard against Zhuo Langyue at all. In addition, his attention was on the door and the two people inside. Therefore, he was caught off guard by Zhuo Langyue. "Little mom, what are you doing?" Su Yun stared and asked. He really couldn't understand what Zhuo Langyue's actions meant at this moment. "You don't have the right to speak here." Zhuo Langyue said, "I didn't completely trust him. Do you know why your father is trapped in this damn prison? Because the guy inside is related to your mother's death. That guy was forced into a desperate situation by your father and had no other choice." Su Yun was startled. What did this mean? But if that bastard came here and broke out with the felons in the prison, the entire underground world would be in complete chaos. Zhuo Langyue continued, "Therefore, your father risked his life to come to this damn place to kill Feng Wuhan, who is also his younger brother. He won't let his younger brother and those bastards in the 5th floor destroy this prison." Su Yun was completely dumbfounded by Zhuo Langyue's words. "Where did you hear all this from?" Feng Wuyin frowned. Zhuo Langyue coldly snorted, "Don't forget, I'm also Su Chen's woman." "How would I know?" "Naturally, Su Chen told me." Feng Wuyin was actually speechless. Mu Baichen was also stunned. Zhuo Langyue said that Su Chen told her this. He didn't doubt that Zhuo Langyue would lie at all. But he knew that this wasn't the case. What was going on? "Su Yun, your father came here to kill Feng Wuhan. That's why he was trapped here," Zhuo Langyue said, "and everything he fabricated was just to avenge his younger brother. The Feng clan has a very strong sense of family. Everyone in the underground world knows this." Su Yun had no reason to not believe Zhuo Langyue because she was Bai Xiaoye's mother. She couldn't possibly lie to him. If we open this door and let this person in, he will definitely cooperate with the others inside to do something unfavorable to us. His goal must be to kill your father, Zhuo Langyue said very firmly. Along the way, everything she said to Feng Wuyin was a kind of cover. She actually never truly believed in Feng Wuyin. However, Feng Wuyin's strength was too terrifying, so she had to find an opportunity to launch a fatal blow. If it wasn't for Su Yun's disturbance, she would have already made her move. However, Zhualang Yue didn't know that it was fortunate that she didn't make her move. Because if she did, Feng Wuyin would definitely counterattack at that instant. She definitely wouldn't have a good ending. Feng Wuyin smiled bitterly. Then have you ever thought that if Su Chen didn't tell you this back then and told you the truth, what would you do? Zhualang Yue was stunned. Back then, you had already fallen into a romantic relationship. I don't know what kind of life you want, but you know it very well. Feng Wuyin said, if Su Chen said that he came here to help me, would you agree? Zhualang Yue was stunned. If he told you the truth, would you say, why doesn't the Feng clan solve their own problems? Feng Wuyin sighed helplessly. Only if he said that it was for Yun Luyen, would you be magnanimous and let him solve it? Because you hope that he can solve Yun Luyen's problem cleanly. Then, he won't owe Yun Luyen anything and it won't affect the relationship between the two of you. Feng Wuyin's every word deeply smashed into the depths of Zhualang Yue's heart. Zhualang Yue, if you don't believe him, I hope you can believe me. Mu Baichen slowly said, according to my understanding, although what you said was the reason that Su Chen told you personally, it isn't the truth of the matter. Zhualang Yue was stunned. Even Mu Baichen said so. Could it be that it was really like this? Su Yun took a deep breath. Compared to Zhualang Yue's words, he also felt that Feng Wuyin and Mu Baichen's words were more convincing. If you don't believe me, just keep Duo Pa on my neck. Open the door and take a look at the situation inside. Feng Wuyin said, if it's like what you said, you can kill me immediately. You don't need to waste a second. Su Yun finally spoke, little mom, I don't think Senior Feng is lying to us. Moreover, revered Dark also said so. He has no reason to lie to us. Chapter 4058. Perhaps it was because Su Yun's words made Zhualang Yue calm down a little, so she stopped her further actions. I think you should really calm down and think about the consequences of doing this. Mu Baichen continued, without Feng Wuyin, who can deal with Feng Wuhan? You. Or me? Or are you saying that you want to place your bet on Su Yun? Zhualang Yue also tried to calm herself down, but she was worried. What if she insisted on the right thing to do? At that time, it would be too late to regret. When the outcome of everything might depend on her decision, she really couldn't make a judgment easily. Su Yun pointed out the matter even more straightforwardly. Little mother, do you think that with Senior Feng's strength, even if you really hurt him, if he wants to harm us, do you still have the chance to escape unscathed? Actually, Zhualang Yue should have thought of it at this moment. If Feng Wuyin really wanted to harm them, when she didn't stab him to death at the first moment, he would have had the chance to send her flying and kill her instead. However, Feng Wuyin didn't do that. Instead, he continued to leave his neck under her soul-seizing blade and sincerely explained to her. Zhualang Yue, the decision is up to you. Feng Wuyin said, what I want to do and what I can do are not for myself. You will definitely know this. I admit that I want to help my brother again because he is my biological brother after all. Moreover, you are right. The Feng clan has always paid attention to their family inheritance and cares about their family members. That is only because there are very few people in the Feng clan. In my generation, perhaps the Feng clan will have no descendants. Why is it like this? Su Yun was startled. It didn't seem to be difficult to make the Feng clan prosper. It was just marriage and children. Because once the people of the Feng clan step onto the path of cultivation, they will either go crazy or become a demon. The Feng clan has a unique constitution and a special state of mind. They are all geniuses in martial cultivation. Therefore, once they start on the path, they will become uncontrollable. Mu Baichen said, in this kind of demonic and crazy state, perhaps the idea of starting a family and inheriting the family will not exist in his mind. Feng Wuyin nodded helplessly. Yes, that's indeed the case. Back then, I missed out on all of this because of my martial cultivation. Now, as an old man, wanting to leave behind a bloodline for the Feng family has become a joke. There was indeed such a joke. An old man in his 80s found a young girl to marry. A year later, the girl was pregnant, and the old man was overjoyed. One of his hunter friends told him something, but he couldn't bring himself to laugh. One day, a hunter went hunting and met a tiger. The tiger pounced on him and he hurriedly opened fire. With a bang, the tiger was shot in the head. The hunter happily returned home with his spoils of war. However, when he got home, he found that the bullets he had used to hunt were neatly placed on the table. Not a single bullet was missing. He had forgotten to load the gun with bullets when he went out today. The hunter looked at the tiger and understood that although he had fired, there were no bullets in his gun. Therefore, the person who killed the tiger must have been someone else who fired at the same time as him. And that person was the one who had bullets. The old man understood that his old gun had long run out of bullets, so there must be other guns that fought with him. And the bullets were also from other people's guns. It had nothing to do with him. Feng Wuyin knew that some things were hard to go against. Although there was nothing wrong with his body at his age, some aspects would still degenerate. Although the treasured saber was not old, the old gun had long run out of bullets. The Feng family has no successor. It's indeed a sad thing, Mu Baichen said indifferently. There was indeed regret in his voice. I indeed have no successor, but my brother has a son. Feng Wuyin slowly said, he also knows very well that if his son walks our path, he will continue to be like us. Therefore, he made another extreme choice. Mu Baichen looked at Feng Wuhan in surprise. The child was sent away and went to live the life of an ordinary person. Feng Wuyin said, I came to look for him this time because I hope to know where he sent his son back then. Now that the child has definitely grown up and is someone with experience, I want to tell him about the Feng family. He has the right to know all of this. Moreover, I also want to confirm that the Feng family still has descendants. That way, I can die without regrets. There was no other reason for Su Yunxiang to trust Feng Wuyin's words. It was purely out of trust. Zhuo Lengyue also slowly put down the soul-seizing blade in her hand. She understood that if she continued like this, she would no longer be a threat to Feng Wuyin. At this moment, she made a choice. She chose to believe in Feng Wuyin, just like Su Yun and Mu Baichen. If she made the wrong choice, then she could only blame fate for not being able to go against it. Thank you for trusting me. Feng Wuyin turned around and said, I will definitely not let you regret your choice. As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Wuyin turned the mechanism wheel of the 5th floor's door. The special alloy door that was as thick as a city wall slowly rose. The world on the 5th floor finally appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Zhuo Lengyue suddenly realized that what she had learned over the years was not the truth at all. Compared to the upper floor, the 5th floor was empty and simple. In front of them, there were 2 guys who were holding their breaths and meditating. Both of them had long hair that reached their waists and beards. At this moment, these 2 people didn't seem to be disturbed by the outside world at all. They were still immersed in their own world. Zhuo Lengyue didn't notice anyone else. At this moment, she could completely trust Feng Wuyin. However, it was difficult for her to determine which of the 2 men with long hair covering their eyes and mouths were Su Chen, or rather, whether Su Chen was one of them or not. Feng Wuyin didn't hesitate to take a step to the right. He immediately recognized his younger brother. Even if he couldn't see his face, he could still recognize that the one on the right was Feng Wuhan. Ever since the giant door rose, Mu Baichen's vigilance had occupied everything. It seems that you guys aren't as boring here as I imagined. If you guys really enjoy it, will you blame us for appearing too early? Feng Wuyin didn't care if he would disturb the 2 of them. Perhaps we should come later. After Feng Wuyin spoke, Zhuo Lengyue's gaze quickly fell on the person on the left. The 2 guys with long hair and beards didn't seem to hear Feng Wuyin's words and still didn't react. Staying in such a place for such a long time, anyone would have changed. This was something they could understand. It could even be said that the 2 of them didn't know how to speak anymore. Perhaps they had no reason to be surprised. Su Yun had imagined many scenes of him meeting his father, but nothing was like what he had imagined. There were no emotions, no exciting scenes, no so-called apologetic hugs and explanations, nothing at all. He was just a stranger who sat there without any reaction to their arrival. Su Yun couldn't feel the slightest bit of human emotion. Su Chen. Is that you? Zhuo Langyue couldn't make a judgment at all. She couldn't recognize this person at all. Feng Wuyin sighed. If it's not them, who else could it be? Sigh. If it wasn't for my miscalculation back then, perhaps everything wouldn't have turned out like this today. Su Chen, I've let you down, let the Yun family down, and let everyone down. Yes, all of this was indeed caused by you. The one who should stay here and endure all of this should be you, not him. Zhuo Langyue lost control of her emotions again. But no matter what they said, the two people sitting on the ground didn't react at all. What exactly happened? The situation isn't right. Mu Baichen seemed to have sensed the problem. This isn't the reaction of a normal person. Anyone who has been locked in such a place for a long time wouldn't be normal. Su Yun added. He really felt that there was nothing abnormal about this. It was very normal. If they could still be talkative and hospitable, that would be truly abnormal. Zhuo Langyue was about to go forward and touch Su Chen, but she was stopped by Feng Wuyin. Don't touch him. If you don't want him to be in danger, stay away from him now. Don't disturb him. Why? Zhuo Langyue questioned. What happened to them? Why did it become like this? Chapter 4059. They are now in a state of entry. Feng Wuyin said, the two of them have entered the spirit realm. Perhaps they are fighting fiercely at this moment. If you touch his body and disturb him, he will be in danger of losing his life. At this point, Feng Wuyin continued to add, even if their battle is a battle after entering the realm, the serious injuries they suffer will still affect their bodies. Zhuo Langyue instantly understood. At this moment, she seemed to have comprehended a hint of breaking through to the sky-profound realm. However, at this time, she did not have enough energy and environment to comprehend and break through, so she could only put all of this aside. Su Yun also only understood today what a battle between incomparable realm experts was. Only incomparable realm experts could do a battle between incomparable realm experts. Moreover, the fifth floor of the Marty Franz Island prison was such a quiet environment. There was no need to worry about being disturbed, so it naturally became the perfect place for incomparable realm experts to fight. No wonder Feng Wuyin said that their lives here were not boring. The battle in the realm was much more carefree than the battle in the real world. There were not so many restrictions, and the two of them only needed to not be disturbed here. Since their divine senses had already entered the realm, their words would not disturb them. Only the touch of their bodies would disturb their divine senses that had already entered the realm. In a battle between experts, victory or defeat was only a matter of an instant. Therefore, once their divine senses were disturbed by the slightest bit of the outside world, their lives might be in danger. The higher the mental strength of a martial cultivator, the harder it was to determine the outcome of the battle. However, once the outcome was decided, one of them would die and the other would be injured. Are we going to wait forever? Zhuo Langyue said. She had no experience in the battle of divine senses at the realm. She did not understand the situation of such a battle. Feng Wuyin was an incomparable realm expert, so he naturally knew the situation of the battle of divine senses at the realm. We won't wait too long. Feng Wuyin said indifferently, the battle of divine senses at the realm lasts for 24 hours. In the real world, it only lasts for an hour. Even if the two of them are martial cultivators with full mental strength and energy, the battle of divine senses at the realm will definitely not exceed 3 hours. It will be very tiring for them to fight for 3 days and 3 nights. So the battle between incomparable realm experts was actually like this. There was indeed no way to satisfy inaction realm players in the real world. They could easily fight for 1 or 2 days, and there were not many things that could withstand the destruction from their fighting strength. That was why the inaction realm elites were the only ones who could enjoy the battle to enter the country. Feng Wuyin reminded Zhuo Langyue again, I'm not joking with you. Don't disturb Su Chen. If he is disturbed, his life will really be in danger. Zhuo Lengyue understood the seriousness of Feng Wuyin's words. However, when she stepped back, her gaze unconsciously fell on Feng Wuhan on the other side. Not to mention whether Feng Wuyin understood Zhuo Lengyue's meaning, even Su Yun and Mu Baichen clearly felt a chill. Zhuo Lengyue certainly had a reason to do so. This was the best opportunity to deal with Feng Wuhan. Moreover, it would also allow Su Chen to escape from the battle of spiritual consciousness earlier and return to reality in the state of advanced realm. She knew that as long as she stabbed the soul-seizing blade into Feng Wuhan's body, any part of his body would be fatal. If you really understand Su Chen, you should know what kind of person he is. Feng Wuyin said indifferently, Su Chen has been upright and honorable all his life. He has his dignity. I can understand what you want to do, but this might not be what he wants to see. Zhuo Lengyue resisted her impulse. Since Feng Wuyin had already seen through her, she had lost the chance to make a move. I understand Su Chen, but he also understands me. He should be able to understand how I do things. Feng Wuyin didn't need to say more. If he was here, he wouldn't let Zhuo Lengyue act recklessly. He only needed to stand between the two of them, and Zhuo Lengyue wouldn't have the chance to make a move. He is the one who caused Su Chen to stay in this damned place for so many years. Doesn't he deserve to die? Zhuo Lengyue asked. Feng Wuyin didn't avoid Zhuo Lengyue's question. Of course he deserves to die. He is not worthy of being forgiven. If he still refuses to realize his mistake, I only want to find out about my nephew from him. I will personally take action and clean up the family. Then I can only rely on you to keep your word. Zhuo Lengyue really couldn't feel at ease in her heart. I have always been like this, Feng Wuyin said. At this moment, the entire prison, or even the entire Mardi Franz Island, trembled violently. It was as if the entire island had touched something. The huge tremor made everyone lose their balance. And the two people who entered the prison directly fell to the ground under this huge tremor. Feng Wuyin's face instantly revealed a look of horror. Not good. This tremor must have disturbed their divine senses. Although they didn't touch it directly, this kind of indirect disturbance will still put them in danger. Feng Wuyin's expression was very nervous. Zhuo Lengyue was also so shocked that she couldn't close her mouth. Then what should we do? Su Yun also couldn't figure out how to protect his father's body without touching them. I'm going to enter their divine senses now. As Feng Wuyin spoke, he sat cross-legged between Su Chen and Feng Wuhan. Mu Baichen frowned and said, You want to enter the prison under such circumstances? Don't you know how dangerous it is? The tremor under their feet was still obvious. This was definitely not a simple situation. They might have encountered an unprecedented crisis. What the hell is going on? Can you guarantee Su Chen's safety just by entering the prison? Zhuo Lengyue rarely panicked, but now she was really worried about Su Chen. The feeling of not being able to wake him up was so helpless. There's no time to explain. I have to enter the prison as soon as possible. Feng Wuyin ignored everyone. Mu Baichen glanced at Zhuo Lengyue. I suspect that Mardi Franz Island has encountered an earthquake zone. Earthquake zone? Zhuo Lengyue looked at Mu Baichen in disbelief. Mardi Franz Island was a constantly moving island. Back then, this place was chosen as the prison for serious criminals because of the uniqueness of this island. One of the reasons was that this island was constantly moving, but it could always exquisitely avoid the complicated earthquake zone at the bottom of the sea. This was all nature's uncanny workmanship. So, how could there be an earthquake? But nature was always ever-changing. No one could explain what kind of butterfly effect would be caused by the collision of the Earth's continental plates. When the continental plates moved toward each other, subduction would occur. When the oceanic crust in between was completely destroyed, the continental crust would not be able to submerge due to buoyancy, resulting in collision was very normal. According to the nature of the continental crust on both sides, it could be divided into arc collision, and continental collision. The mountain range on the east coast of Huaxia's Taiwan Island was the product of the collision between the Luzon Arc and the Eurasian continent. The Qinling Mountains and the Himalayas were the product of the collision between continents in different geological periods. So, the magic of nature was that anything unbelievable could happen at any time. It could be wonderful, it could be terrifying, it could be lucky, it could also be a disaster. On the fourth level of Franz Island, the boss serpent had lost his balance due to the shaking of the island. Ling Feng took advantage of this moment and slashed at the abdomen that the boss serpent had been carefully protecting. That was where the boss serpent's vital point was, so Ling Feng killed it with one strike. The death of Ba Shi and the huge tremor caused the felons on the fourth floor to fall into a disadvantageous position. Their morale began to drop again and again. Shadow knew that this was a good opportunity for them, so he immediately ordered the dark operation to attack with all their might. They had to win the battle in one go. These felons could only be killed without mercy. These people would be a disaster if they were left alive. Not only was the fourth floor threatening, but the third floor had almost finished the battle. With Wu Qiuzi's return, the felons on the third floor were no match for Lin Gu and the others who were full of energy. The situation was one-sided. Wang Yi was on the second floor commanding the overall situation, so naturally, they would not let their opponents have an easy time. Other than the headache caused by the undead guards, the felons in the prison definitely felt the fear of being dominated by them. On the entire cruise ship, the only person who was completely in a state of panic was Yu Meiren. This was the first time in her life that she had seen a huge tornado on the sea with her own eyes. And it wasn't just one tornado. She didn't know how far away those tornadoes were from Marty Franz Island, but she counted clearly that there were 4 huge tornadoes. And they were still getting closer. Chapter 4060. In such a hot and humid ocean environment, it was easy to breed some unstable air masses, and tornadoes basically occurred in such unstable air masses. Because of the activity of the earthquake zone, the air turbulence was severe, and the temperature difference between the upper and lower levels was great. The temperature of the sea surface here was always as high as 30 degrees. Once the temperature dropped to minus 30 degrees at an altitude of 8,000 meters, the temperature difference caused the cold air to drop sharply, and the hot air to rise rapidly. The convection of the upper and lower levels was too fast, thus forming a vortex. When the vortex gradually expanded, coupled with the intense vibration, the huge vortex became a wind disaster that attacked the sea surface. Therefore, what they encountered this time was a kind of continental plate collision, and the unstable air masses on the sea surface caused a tornado to form. Perhaps the collision between the continental plates would only happen in a short period of time, and things would settle down quickly. After all, many earthquake zones were like this. A small earthquake wouldn't cause too much damage. If a small earthquake could cause serious consequences, the Japanese would have died long ago. Although the earthquake they encountered was not a big crisis, the tornado caused by the earthquake was not a small problem. Tornadoes were the product of thunderstorms in the clouds. To be specific, tornadoes were a form of concentrated release of a small part of the huge thunderstorm energy in a very small area. Yu Meiren saw 4 tornadoes in front of her. The smallest one was at least tens of meters in diameter, and the largest one seemed to be at least 200 meters in diameter. It was quite huge. In the face of such a force of nature, no one could resist. Yu Meiren had no other choice but to hope that the tornado could disappear as soon as possible in a few minutes. However, tornadoes could last for a few hours after all, and they moved quite fast. There were records of tornadoes moving hundreds of kilometers in an hour. Even at the slowest speed, it would take at most 2 hours for the distant tornado to move to Marty Fran Island. If the people inside couldn't come out in 2 hours, everything would be over. She couldn't protect this place, and the yacht would be swept away by the huge tornado. The tornado intensified the tremors of the earthquake, and the people in the prison on Marty Fran Island were aware of the danger. Lu Xuanji reacted quickly. He immediately ordered Bufifan, "Go outside and take care of Yu Meiren. We don't know what's happening at sea, so don't board the ship. If there's a storm, boarding the ship is equivalent to suicide." "Yes." Bufifan turned around and ran without saying a word. He knew that Yu Meiren was a very important person to Su Yun. He could not let her be in danger. Bai Liang looked at Bu Fifan's back blankly and asked Lu Xuanji, if there's really an ocean storm outside, they won't hide on the ship. It's not safe on the island either. With such a big earthquake, the storm must be very scary. Lu Xuanji nodded. Of course, it's a dead end on the island. But at the critical moment, Bu Fifan can save you Marin. After hiding in prison, there won't be any danger. Everyone is hiding inside? Then how do we get out? Bai Liang was stunned. Lu Xuanji asked, if the people outside die, we won't be able to get out either. At least there's a chance of survival if we hide here. I don't believe that old guy Wan Guangxiao will really leave us in the lurch. If he still doesn't know anything about Su Yun, I promise I'll teach him a lesson even if I become a ghost. Then I'll go with him. At least we can bring in some food from the cruise ship. Bai Liang said, if we're really trapped here, food can at least help us survive for a few more days. There are a lot of protein blocks in Mardi Fran Island prison that can be eaten, Lu Xuanji said. Bai Liang also saw those protein blocks. This kind of thing might be the food of the prisoners in the prison. Speaking of which, protein was indeed a good thing, but Bai Liang had seen a movie before. He forgot the name. There were also such protein blocks in the movie, and these things were all crushed by high-protein insects. Although it was harmless to eat, it was quite disgusting to think about it. However, your proposal is really useful, Lu Xuanji said. More food naturally meant more hope. He looked at Wang Yi and asked, how long will it take to get rid of these guys? Wang Yi snorted, do you think they still have the desire to fight? The felons on the second floor were indeed beaten into submission. The only ones who still had the energy to continue to challenge them were the undead guards. Then arrange a few people for me to get food from the cruise ship. Lu Xuanji said, the earthquake will definitely cause an ocean storm. We can't stay outside. The cruise ship can't be saved either. We need to hide inside. Whether we can survive or not depends on whether your team's bastard Wan will come to save us. Wang Yi was stunned. Lu Xuanji would not joke easily. He was quite clear about what happened on the ocean. He had always lived in seclusion on an island, so he was experienced in judging ocean storms. Qian Feng, Hua Xiaolu, go outside and check on Yu Marin's situation immediately. Wang Yi said, bring her in as soon as possible. You must ensure her safety. Han Zhan, pick a few people and go back to the ship to get food. Yes. Han Zhan immediately said and began to call out names to the people around him. You and you, follow me. You stay outside. Wang Yi ordered again. Unless it's absolutely necessary, you have to stay outside and guard the entrance. We need someone to open the door for us outside. Of course, if you die outside, no one can open the door for us. So you must guarantee that if you die, come in. One more person alive inside is one more hope of escaping. Han Zhan was very clear about Wang Yi's orders and arrangements. He knew that Wang Yi arranged for him because of his trust in him. Wang Yi knew that he was a rational and calm person who would not make impulsive decisions easily. His judgment was better than the others, so Wang Yi arranged for him to stay until the end. I guarantee that I will complete the mission, Han Zhan said very firmly. This was Wang Yi's trust in him. He could not betray this trust. Think of a way. Get rid of these guys. Wang Yi's biggest headache right now was these undying guards. Hua Leitang coincidentally flew up and kicked an undying guard into the cell. Immediately after, he did not know why he subconsciously stabbed the dagger in his hand into the electronic door lock beside the cell door. The door of the cell closed with a buzzing sound. When the undying guards in the cell resurrected, they could only stay inside and stare. They could not come out to fight at all. Do it immediately. Wang Yi immediately made the decision. They had to find a way to get these guys into the cell as soon as possible. Of course, the felons on the second floor also saw this opportunity and began to fight back desperately, trying to get them into the cell as well. The situation of the battle worsened once again. These felons were trapped like beasts. When trapped beasts fight, they would definitely surpass their limits. If they did not succeed, they would die. This was a simple logic that everyone understood. So Wang Yi and the others were about to face an even more serious challenge. After all, the felons who were able to hold on until now were all strong fellows who had a strong desire to win. These fellows were even more difficult to deal with than the others. Be careful. He had to be 120% alert. Last until the end, victory will belong to us. Everyone shouted, "Kill!" The battle instantly reached an explosive point. Although many of the felons had been defeated, a few members of the Dragon Brigade were also sent out. Hua Leitang, Gong Jiuxiao, Emperor Yuan Qing and a few others did not hesitate to shoulder the greatest pressure. They stood at the very front fearlessly. At a time like this, anyone who cowered was not worthy of being a member of the Dragon Brigade, and even more so, not worthy of being a captain of the Special Forces in the Dragon Brigade. As the captains of the Special Forces, this was the time to win glory for their own Special Forces. Chapter 4061. Bu Fifan had arrived at the entrance of Marty Fran Island. He responded to Yu Marin's call using the voice they had agreed on earlier. Yu Marin was stunned by the approaching tornado, but she did not forget her responsibility. Yu Marin immediately opened the entrance of the prison. Bu Fifan was dumbfounded when he came out. The sky was clear when they entered the prison, but it was now covered in dark clouds. The sky was filled with lightning and thunder. Bu Fifan was left speechless by the sight of the tornado in the distance. He had experienced a tornado when he was in the hunter school, but it was his first time seeing 4 tornadoes on the ocean at the same time. What kind of weather was this? It felt like hell. What's going on? Bu Fifan said, "We can't stay here any longer. It's hard to tell if the island is strong enough to withstand the tornado." Yu Marin was more worried about the situation in the prison. "What's the situation now? What's your progress?" "There's no one on the first floor. I've only reached the second floor. I have no idea what's going on down there," Bu Fifan said. "There was an earthquake just now. Uncle Lu asked me to check on you. We can't stay here any longer. You have to come down with me." "Who's going to open the door if there's no one outside?" Yu Marin said, "Go back, I'll take shelter on the boat." "The boat won't be able to withstand a tornado of this level." Bu Fifan snapped, "You're going to die if you stay here. If I go with you, no one will be able to open the door. Everyone is going to die if they're trapped here. If I die outside, it's all God's fault, but I still have a 50% chance of survival. As long as I'm still alive, I can open the door for you," Yu Marin said stubbornly. "A 50% chance of survival?" Bu Fifan pointed at the 4 huge tornadoes and said, "Beautiful sister, not to mention the 4 tornadoes, even the smallest one would not have a 1% chance of survival if it reached here. It's not even a 50% chance." Yu Marin shook her head. She insisted on leaving some hope for the people inside. "Go in, I'll hold on." Meanwhile, the rest of the people had arrived at the entrance. Yu Marin was startled when she saw so many people coming out. "Did we win?" Han Zhan and his men looked at the terrifying weather and realized that it was indeed a problem they could not solve. They quickly made a decision. "Yu Marin, go in with Bu," Han Zhan said. "This is an order, you have to obey it." "But..." "No buts." Han Zhan said, "I'm here to replace you. You have to go down and hide." Yu Marin was frown. "Trust me, I have my own judgment. I know when to give up." Han Zhan said, "Don't hesitate anymore, go down quickly." He then ordered S's 2s at the same time. "To the boats 2s to the island. 15 minutes that are 15 minutes, the earlier's quick, let's move." "Yes." The few of them quickly boarded the boat. "Do you understand now?" "Even if we're all trapped inside, there's food and so many smart people, we'll definitely be able to think of a way out," Bu Fifan said. "Go down quickly, I'm going to help them find food." Han Zhan looked at Yu Marin seriously without saying a word. In the end, Yu Marin nodded. "Then I'll help them get food." Han Zhan nodded, pleased. They used their fastest speed to get all the food on the boat. At this time, Han Zhan made a clear judgment. The tornadoes are coming towards us from all directions. I'm afraid we won't be able to escape. You guys go back quickly. I'll wait for a while and see if there's a chance. They took the food and quickly returned to the prison. After Yu Maren entered the prison, she felt as if a huge rock was tied to her heart. The chief told her that her brother was sent to this place and became an undead guard in the prison. She was in a bad mood. She didn't know if they met Yu Ingxiong or if Su Yun. The storm was getting closer and closer to Marty Franz Island. Han Zhan guarded the door. He wouldn't come back early because he knew that the situation at sea was ever-changing. Unless a huge tornado landed on the island in the next second, he would never go in. He would keep guarding the door. After all, he also knew that once the door closed, how to get out of Marty Franz Island's prison would become the most serious crisis they faced. Whether or not this problem could be solved would become a headache for everyone. The battle on the third floor was also in full swing. Lin Gu also found a good way to lock the undead guard in the cell. However, he didn't close the cell door because he destroyed the electronic system. Instead, he destroyed the cell door's lifting system with an external force, causing the cell door to fall down. The door wasn't locked. It could be opened as long as it was lifted up. However, Lin Gu found that the undead guard he locked in the cell was desperately trying to destroy the cell door. It didn't think of lifting the cell door at all. At this time, he realized that the undead guard had no thoughts. Although the technological chip was powerful, it was impossible for it to make such a judgment. They have no self-awareness. Find a way to lock them all in the cell. Lin Gu said loudly to everyone. At this time, everyone had a way to solve the undead guard's constant harassment. As long as all the undead guards were locked up, they wouldn't have to worry about their physical exhaustion. The undead guard's consumption was too great. If there was no way to deal with them, even if they could defeat the undead guard again and again, they would eventually be dragged to death by them. Because they didn't know what tiredness was. They didn't have the concept of physical exhaustion. The technological chip wasn't a person, and the body of a dead person wouldn't feel tired. Fortunately, Lin Gu also solved this troublesome problem as soon as possible, so they could also solve the battle problem as soon as possible. Wan Guangxiao, who was far away in Yanjing, personally came to the office where Matthew worked. When Matthew saw that Wan Guangxiao came to visit, he politely prepared tea for him. "Leader Wan, how come you have time to come here? You're usually so busy with work. If there's anything, just call me directly." "Matthew, there's really a big matter this time. It's very troublesome and very troublesome." Wan Guangxiao sighed. "I had to come to you. Perhaps only you can help them." Matthew was startled. "Leader, what do you mean?" "Help who?" "Su Yun." Wan Guangxiao said seriously. Matthew chuckled. "Helping Su Yun, of course there's no problem. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it for you immediately. Listen to me about the situation first." Wan Guangxiao said, "I believe that you will support Su Yun, so I'm telling you. If you feel that I'm in the wrong after listening to me, you can immediately report me to the relevant authorities." The smile on Matthew's face disappeared. He saw some clues on Wan Guangxiao's face and realized that things were not as simple as he thought. After Wan Guangxiao told Matthew the cause and effect of the matter, Matthew was really surprised that Wan Guangxiao could make such a decision. However, for some reason, Matthew admired Wan Guangxiao even more through this matter. "I need you to help me hack into the mainframe of the Security and Defense Department of the 10 Nations, find the program that controls the technological chips on the Undying Guards, modify the program, and silence all the technological chips." Wan Guangxiao said, "If you can solve this problem, you'll definitely be able to reduce a lot of their problems." "Why didn't you tell me about this earlier?" Matthew smiled slightly. "If it's solved earlier, they might be able to relax earlier. I didn't dare to say it before because I was worried that you wouldn't do such a thing. I really have no other choice now, I'm too worried." Wan Guangxiao said, "So I have to drag you down with me." "Drag me down with you?" Matthew was stunned for a moment. "Yes, there's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. There will always be a day when someone finds out about anything that anyone has done. I'm afraid that if you help me, you'll implicate yourself, Wan Guangxiao said. Matthew disagreed. I'm willing to do that, it has nothing to do with you. Even if I do this, do you think anyone will really do anything to me? No one will be that stupid. Don't worry about this matter, leave it to me, I'll definitely help you deal with it properly. Chapter 4062. Feng Wuyin successfully entered the realm and entered the battle between Su Chen and Feng Wuhan. At this moment, Su Chen and Feng Wuhan had been fighting for 2 days and 2 nights. If it weren't for the violent tremors just now, the two of them wouldn't have stopped. Although the two of them in the real world had long hair and beards covering their faces, in their divine senses after entering the realm, they still had the image from more than 20 years ago. It seemed that they didn't know their current situation at all and still thought that they were the same as before. The vibration of the collision of the continental plates had disturbed their bodies, and their divine senses had also suffered varying degrees of damage. This damage might not cause them much trouble, but it was extremely easy for them to be trapped in the realm and unable to return to the real world. At this moment, Su Chen and Feng Wuhan had already realized this and knew that something had happened outside. However, it had become much more complicated to leave the realm. The appearance of Feng Wuyin's divine sense made both of them feel incredulous. It could even be said that they were completely shocked. When Feng Wuyin saw the two of them, he couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. Could it be that the two of you have spent all these years like this? Why are you here? Su Chen asked in surprise. He even suspected that this was an illusion caused by his divine sense after his body had suffered a violent tremor just now. Feng Wuhan also said in a voice of disbelief, Su Chen, what kind of trick are you playing with me? How could he be here? Tell me, what kind of trick is this? You always say that I'm using unorthodox methods. Then what are you doing? You're really shameless. This has nothing to do with me, Su Chen said angrily. Feng Wuyin hurriedly gestured to the two of them. Don't argue. It's me. I'm here. I've already reached the 5th floor of the Martifran Island Serious Crime Prison. When I saw that both of you had entered the realm, I knew what you were doing, so I came in to look for you. Su Chen looked at Feng Wuyin in astonishment. Feng Wuhan threw his head back and laughed loudly. What kind of joke is this? Su Chen, do you think your despicable evil technique can deceive me? You summoned my brother and let him tell me that he's here? What kind of joke is this? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? Feng Wuyin looked at his brother helplessly. Why don't you believe me? It's really me. Feng Wuhan still stared at Feng Wuyin in disbelief. You're here. How is this possible? How could Su Chen believe it? Although he wanted to believe it, how could he believe it in this situation? This can't be real. This must be an illusion. Su Chen. Look at me. When have I ever lied to you? Feng Wuyin said, not only am I here, Zhuo Langyue is also here. And your son, Su Yun, is here too. Right now, they are protecting you. What else do you need me to say to make you believe me? If you don't believe me, go out and take a look. Leave the country? Su Chen also wanted to leave the country, but the disturbance just now had affected the connection between his divine sense and his body. It was not so easy to leave the country now. What kind of trick are you playing? Feng Wuhan stared at Feng Wuyin and said, You're my brother? Humph. Do you think I will believe you? In this world, other than me, who else can you trust? Feng Wuyin asked back, When you were 5 years old, someone wrongly accused you of stealing a steadfast heart pill. Everyone suspected you, but I believed you. When you were 8 years old, you really stole a book to correct the root bone. I still chose to believe you without hesitation. Although you disappointed me before, you didn't forget what happened when you were 13 years old, right? I still chose to believe you without hesitation. In this world, if you can't even trust me, who else can you trust? Feng Wuhan was completely stunned, because what he said was really only known to him and Feng Wuyin. Only he and his brother knew. It was impossible for Su Chen to know all of this. He wouldn't have such an illusion either. Let me tell you, all of you are in danger now. There was an earthquake just now, and we don't know what's going on outside. Therefore, all of you must immediately leave the divine sense realm. You absolutely can't stay inside. Feng Wuyin said seriously, you must leave with me immediately. Leave now. We haven't decided the victor yet. How can we leave? Feng Wuhan said coldly, for so many years, we have been fighting endlessly, for the sake of deciding the victor, and this time, I already had the upper hand. Why should I give up? Su Chen now believed most of Feng Wuyin's words because just before Feng Wuyin appeared, he felt a familiar feeling. He couldn't tell what that feeling was, but it was in his divine sense that he was slightly distracted. Now he knew that that feeling might have been brought to him by Zhuo Langyue. It was that slight distraction that allowed Feng Wuhan to take advantage of him and hurt him a little. For so many years, the two of them had been fighting evenly, and neither of them had the chance to gain the upper hand. And this time, Feng Wuhan finally gained the upper hand, and was the battle between them about to end? No, absolutely not. He had to win. He had to win against Su Chen. Do you really think you can win against him? Feng Wuyin looked at Feng Wuhan and said, let me ask you, why is there not a single prisoner on the first floor of Mardi Franz Island prison? Did you take all of them when you came? Feng Wuhan sneered. Brother, you know me best. Of course it was me who did it. Everybody on the first floor was sucked dry by me. Those guards couldn't have done anything to me at all. If Su Chen hadn't shown up and brought me to this goddamn fifth floor with him, I wouldn't have been able to do anything to him. How could I have been trapped in Mardi Franz Island prison for so many years? Feng Wuhan said expressionlessly, is it worth it to harm so many people for your own mental state cultivation? You didn't let me touch those people in the underground world. Did I touch them? Have I already given up? Feng Wuhan said, I gave up, that's why I came here. Because the felons here are all trash. They don't deserve to live in this world. Why can't I absorb their martial arts? Tell me, why can't I? Give me a reason why I can't. If you don't have a reason, then shut up. Should a felon die because of you? Feng Wuyin said, martial arts, heavenly Tao, limitless realm. What you pursue is simply impossible to achieve. How is it impossible? Feng Wuhan roared hysterically. If this bastard hadn't chased me here and ruined my plan. If I had absorbed the martial arts of all the experts in Mardi Franz Island prison, I would have definitely reached the void realm that was higher than the limitless realm. At that time, I, Feng Wuhan, would be the only existence in the world. The Feng family's strength is also the only existence in the world. Is it worth it for those false reputations? Feng Wuyin asked. Feng Wuhan looked at his brother coldly. Is it worth it? How is it not worth it? If you could shoulder this responsibility, would you still need me to do all this? You watched as a person who didn't have the surname Feng broke through the heavenly profound realm and reached the limitless realm, but you didn't react at all. You were actually happy for him. The great Tao of martial arts is something that everyone in the world can do. Why are you the only one who can achieve it and others can't? Feng Wuyin said, why do you have to think this way? Su Chen also looked at Feng Wuhan coldly. He said to Feng Wuyin indifferently, it's meaningless for you to tell him all this. When he came to Mardi Franz Island's major criminal prison to absorb the martial arts of the criminals here, he had already completely gone mad. You're the one who's gone mad. Feng Wuhan laughed out loud. If I've gone mad, why can't you defeat me? Let me tell you, you're all jealous. You're all jealous that I'll break through the limitless realm and reach the void realm, so you don't dare to let me do it. Wake up. Feng Wuyin really expected better from him, the Tao of martial arts, the supreme of the limitless realm. We grew up listening to this sentence. There's no such thing as the void realm. Don't continue to be stubborn. If I break through, you'll naturally believe me. Feng Wuhan said, before anyone broke through to the heavenly profound realm, everyone thought that the limitless realm didn't exist. Why don't you believe that I can continue to break through to the limitless realm now? Why? You're the one who's crazy. You're jealous. You're jealous of my talent. You're the ones who are despicable, not me. He's already crazy, Su Chen said helplessly. All these years, Feng Wuyin had been emphasizing the Tao of martial arts, the supreme of the limitless realm. Unfortunately, Feng Wuhan didn't listen at all. He had always thought that they were jealous of him. Chapter 4063. Feng Wuhan sneered, "Even if I'm crazy, it's because you forced me. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have ended up like this. All of this has something to do with you guys. It's your own desire that backfired on you." Feng Wuyin said, "Although the path of martial cultivation is endless, it doesn't mean that you have to use this method to break through yourself. Do you really think that you have reached the limit just because you can create the void? Isn't that so? Which one of you can do it?" Feng Wuhan said, "Let me tell you, the only person with this talent is me. My bloodline proves that I will be the only one. Who does Su Chen think he is? How can he be on equal footing with me, Feng Wuhan?" Feng Wuyin hated and was helpless about this. But what could all of this do? He had no way to change Feng Wuhan. He had already become crazy. If possible, he was even willing to let himself replace Feng Wuhan. "Don't be so stubborn. I'm here to save you. If you're still so stubborn, I won't take you away," Feng Wuyin said bluntly. Feng Wuhan sneered. "Can you get out of here? I can't even get out of here, let alone you. No matter how strong your martial cultivation is, you're just yourself." Feng Wuyin said, "Wake up. Don't go on like this. I don't want to see you like this." Feng Wuhan snorted and simply ignored him. "Since when did you know how to form a team? In my memory, my eldest brother has always been alone and wouldn't get involved with those ordinary people." "Who exactly are you?" "Humph, you're not Feng Wuyin at all. Stop talking nonsense. Leave your territory immediately. If you don't leave now, you'll be in danger." Feng Wuyin no longer hesitated and stepped forward to grab their arms. Although Feng Wuhan was still in a state of obstinacy, he could not just throw him into the entry gate. Su Chen and Feng Wuhan's divine senses returned to their bodies with the help of Feng Wuyin. Both of them instantly stood up and made a defensive posture. Of course, the mentality of the two was completely different. Su Chen was only on guard against Feng Wuhan, while Feng Wuhan was on guard against everyone around him. When the two's divine senses returned, Mu Baichen also instantly became vigilant. At this moment, he suddenly realized that he had been too careless. He originally came here to control the situation. However, after Su Chen and Feng Wuhan's divine senses returned, Mu Baichen immediately felt an extremely powerful aura. Their strength was far from what he, Mu Baichen, could even be said to be unreachable. The endless state of the limitless state of mind made Mu Baichen was completely unable to estimate the strength of the two people. Although Feng Zest, Feng Wuhan's strength, Feng Zest's, Wuyin, he, T of Feng T. To this disparity made Mu Baichen's heart turn cold. Su Chen and Feng Wuhan had been trapped here for so many years. There was only one thing that had allowed them to persist until now, and that was their never-ending struggle. Feng Wuhan desperately wanted to defeat Su Chen. As long as he could defeat Su Chen and absorb all of Su Chen's martial arts, then no one in this world would ever surpass him. However, Su Chen's purpose here was to control him, so Su Chen only had one way to go, and that was to defeat Feng Wuhan. Therefore, the two of them couldn't lose, they couldn't afford to lose. They really couldn't afford to lose. Under such circumstances, the strength of the two's martial arts naturally increased more easily than the people outside, because they could see the danger they were about to face at all times. Under such close pressure, the speed of the increase in strength was unimaginable to ordinary people. Mu Baichen thought that he hadn't wasted any opportunity to cultivate, but he still felt that their strength was inconceivable. He had a feeling that even if he used up all his strength in this lifetime, he could only look at their dust. Su Chen. Zhua Lengyue looked at Su Chen, who had returned to his body. The man with long hair and beard slowly parted his long hair. Although his hair was a bit longer, Su Chen's appearance didn't change much. He didn't seem to have aged, he was still in the prime of his life. Zhua Lengyue couldn't help but shed tears. At this moment, Su Chen's gaze suddenly fell on Su Yun. Who wouldn't recognize his own son? Even if he was so young when he entrusted Su Yun to Zhang Tai Sui, Su Chen could still recognize that this kid in front of him was his son. Su Yun was really too similar to him when he was young, especially the heroic spirit between his eyebrows. This is your son. The first one to speak was not Su Chen, but his rival of many years, Feng Wuhan. Feng Wuhan was very familiar with his lifelong rival, so when he saw Su Yun, it was as if he was looking at the young Su Chen. It was as if they were carved from the same mold. Without knowing why, Feng Wuhan's mood suddenly became gloomy and lost. He was somewhat jealous. Yes, that's right, this feeling was jealousy. He was jealous that Su Chen had such an outstanding son. If he had... Thinking of this, Feng Wuhan flew into a rage out of humiliation. Since you're here, I'll make you two stay here with me for the rest of my life. Feng Wuhan said coldly. He also had a son. His son was naturally older than Su Yun and was only 10 years younger than Su Chen, but he sent his son away from the Feng family when he was very young. At that time, Feng Wuhan was still rational. He realized how obsessed the Feng clan's bloodline was with martial cultivation, so he didn't want his son to give up all the other joys and sorrows of life for the path of martial cultivation. But now he regretted it. How he wished he had an outstanding son. If his son also practiced martial arts from a young age, his mental state would definitely be stronger than Su Chen's son. He would definitely have broken through to the sky-profound realm. Unfortunately, there was no point in saying this now. His son had already passed the age of awakening the mental state of martial arts, and it was impossible for him to achieve great success. Therefore, he could only hope that his son would live a good life in the world of ordinary people. However, just before he entered the prison of Martifran Island, he learned about his son's current situation. Everything was fine. Therefore, he was very gratified. However, so many years had passed, and he didn't know what the situation was now. If his son could really live an ordinary life, everything would be as he wished. If everything went smoothly, his son would have a son by now, and he, Feng Wuhan, would have a grandson. This might be the simplest comfort Feng Wuhan could give himself. Feng Wuyin, you said that if he still refuses to come to his senses, you would choose to stand on our side and help us. Zhua Lengyue said, you won't go back on your words now, right? Feng Wuyin shook his head. I won't go back on my words, but I still have questions to ask him. Feng Wuhan looked at his elder brother with disdain. You have something to ask me? Do you think I will still treat you as my elder brother now? You are standing in front of others at a time like this. What do you take me for? Since you have become crazy and irredeemable, I no longer have any hope for you. But there is one thing that you have to tell me. Feng Wuyin said, back then, where did you send the child? Feng Wuhan was stunned for a moment. He really didn't expect Feng Wuyin to mention this matter to him. What are you going to do? Feng Wuhan's eyes were filled with vigilance. Chapter 4064. Feng Wuyin said indifferently, I did want to bring you out this time. It's a pity that you are incurable and still refuse to realize your mistake. What else do you want me to do? But the one I gave up on is you, not the bloodline of the Feng family. You want to find my son? Feng Wuhan sneered. Eldest brother, aren't you thinking too much? That's my son, why should I give him to you? Since he's the bloodline of the Feng family, I have the right to know his current situation. Feng Wuyin said. You really have the demeanor of the eldest son and grandson. Ha ha ha, the eldest brother is like a father. You can't be taking this seriously, right? Feng Wuhan said, do you think I care about what you say? Feng Wuyin, you are nothing in my eyes. If it weren't for the fact that you and I were born from the same root, I would have taken your life long ago. Feng Wuyin believed that his brother's words were true. Back then, Feng Wuhan didn't show any mercy to him. Because Feng Wuhan had already mastered the cultivation absorption technique, Feng Wuyin didn't believe that his brother would use such a vicious method on him, so he didn't guard against him. In the end, his serious injuries were caused by Feng Wuhan's cultivation absorption technique, causing him, a sky-profound realm expert, to consume a huge amount of his cultivation. Back then, Feng Wuyin had to experience the process of breaking through from the sky-profound realm to the incomparable realm because of this injury. And that time, he had to recuperate and break through to the incomparable realm again. Fortunately, with Feng Wuhan's cultivation base, there was no way for him to absorb Feng Wuyin's lost cultivation base as his own. Otherwise, Su Chen probably wouldn't have been his match back then. Then you should really regret not killing me back then. Feng Wuyin said indifferently, if you had killed me back then, I wouldn't have come to help them today. Feng Wuhan glanced at them. With just the few of you? Zhua Lingyue and Mu Baichen both frowned. They had already probed Feng Wuhan's strength and were very clear that they were no match for Feng Wuhan. The difference was huge. The only one who remained unmoved was Su Yun. Feng Wuhan was slightly furious when he saw that this kid didn't react at all. This little thing wasn't afraid of his pressure? There was not the slightest bit of fear. Even Zhua Lingyue and Mu Baichen were faintly emitting a sense of fear, yet this brat didn't even have the slightest reaction? How could this be? Absolutely impossible. It was not that Su Yun was not afraid, but his mind was not on Feng Wuhan at all. He was just thinking about how to talk to his father. There was a kind of relationship called the Hua Xia father-son relationship. Although Su Yun hadn't experienced life with his father, he and his godfather, Zhang Yizhi, had a Hua Xia father-son relationship. Although he was very young, he could feel that the relationship between him and Zhang Yizhi was very Hua Xia. Zhang Yizhi didn't know how to speak properly and always scolded him with a straight face. But once something happened to him, he would help him at all costs. When Su Yun grew up in the Dragon Brigade, he didn't even contact Zhang Yizhi for many years. When they met, they didn't have much to talk about. But when Zhang Yizhi passed away, Su Yun cried in a secluded place. Only he knew how sad he was. This was a typical Hua Xia father-son relationship. It was twisted love. Su Yun looked at Su Chen. He was thinking, if it wasn't Zhang Yizhi, but Su Chen, what would their relationship be like? Was it also that kind of twisted love? After a moment, Su Yun was sure that if he and Su Chen grew up together, the degree of twisted love between father and son would be even more serious. Because Su Chen was his biological father. For a Hua Xia father, his son would inherit his family name and bloodline. If it was a big family, his son would inherit his career. A father had to carry on the family name and bring honor to his ancestors through his son. Therefore, his expectations and requirements would be even more than Zhang Yizhi's. And his requirements would be even harsher than Zhang Yizhi's. There was also the underlying psychology of any male animal wanting to maintain a position of authority. As a son, Su Yun would eagerly want to overthrow his father's authority as he grew up, so as to affirm his own strength and confirm his own growth. Although Su Yun didn't know Su Chen at all, he could be sure from what Su Chen did that he, as a father, must have 100% authority and was willing to give orders. He was even a father who meant what he said. Perhaps Su Yun should feel lucky, because if he lived with Su Chen, he might grow up in fear. Not living with him since he was young, he avoided this kind of problematic relationship between father and son. Of course, in today's Hua Xia father-son relationship, it was definitely not just the elders who had problems. It was the same for the young. As they grew up, the young would dislike their father and want to change their father's unsuitable old habits, old views, and bad habits. In fact, this was also a process of growth. What they really wanted to change was not the problem itself, but to change some views and obtain a kind of affirmation. Because Su Yun's heart was filled with these things, he had no time to care about the enormous pressure of Feng Wuhan's indomitable realm. Of course, there was another important reason for this. Anyone who was a child, whether a son or daughter, when their father was by their side, would unconsciously have an extra layer of protection on their body and mind. This was formed from a young age. This was especially true in Hua Xia, a country that placed great importance on family and inheritance. No matter how timid a child was, as long as their father was by their side, they would have the courage to face their fears. This was because a child would take for granted that no matter what kind of danger they faced, their father would be able to solve it. This was how it was. Although Su Yun had never enjoyed a father's love, he had grown up in Huaxia, so he would also feel this way. Even if he had never been afraid of anything since he was very young. This little brat. Feng Wuhan flew into a rage out of humiliation. He wanted to teach Su Yun a lesson. However, the moment Feng Wuhan made his move, Su Chen already felt the murderous aura. His figure flashed and blocked Su Yun's path. He smiled faintly at Feng Wuhan and said, "What? You can't beat me, so you plan to attack a child?" Feng Wuhan missed a good opportunity and was extremely vexed. This kid had Su Chen's protection, so he couldn't easily attack him. After all, he knew Su Chen's strength all too well. "I'm not as despicable as you think." Feng Wuhan clenched his fists. Su Chen, however, shook his head. "That's right. You can only be more despicable than I imagined. In order to reach your so-called emptiness, you absorbed all the prisoners on the first floor in less than a day after you came here. Feng Wuhan, in my world, nobody can be more despicable than you." Feng Wuhan knew that he had never taken advantage of Su Chen with his words. He just snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Su Yun looked at Su Chen's back. This was the first time he had felt the feeling of being protected by his father. To be honest, this feeling was very subtle. It was the kind of feeling that made one feel at ease and feel that all of this was natural. Perhaps this was the true state of mind of a son. Yes, it was that kind of natural feeling. Su Yun had never felt this kind of natural feeling for anyone who had helped him. He didn't understand it in the past, but at this moment, he understood that this was a unique feeling for his parents. "You want to save him? Are you going to take him away now?" Feng Wuhan changed the topic and said to Feng Wuyin, "Let's go. I want to see how you guys are going to leave. You don't have the right to go with us. You will continue to stay here," Zhualengyue said sternly. Feng Wuhan glanced at Zhualengyue. "Do you have the right to say this to me? Do you think you can keep me here, or do you think Su Chen can keep me here? Ha ha ha, if Su Chen wants to keep me here, then he has to stay too. If he can get out, I can definitely get out." Feng Wuhan's words were not false at all. If Su Chen didn't stay to control him, who else could control him? Therefore, this was a huge contradiction. At this moment, Feng Wuyin said, "Other than Su Chen, I can also stay to accompany you. Moreover, I feel that the person who came here should be me, not Su Chen." Chapter 4065. There was anger, hatred, surprise, and confusion in Feng Wuhan's eyes. "Even today, you're still speaking up for him?" Feng Wuhan looked at his elder brother. "Have you forgotten your identity? You're a member of the Feng clan, my elder brother. Not him. If you repent, I can do whatever you want. But now that you're in such a state, how can I treat you?" Feng Wuyin shook his head. "I only hope that you can tell me one thing. Where are the descendants of our Feng clan? Since you're already like this, I'll do my best to give the ancestors of the Feng clan an explanation." Feng Wuhan spat in disgust. "Don't talk about these damn principles in front of me. I don't care at all." "What else do you want?" Su Chen said, "For so many years, the two of us have been suppressing each other. Are you really not going to put an end to the grudge between us? If you all die, the end will naturally be complete." Feng Wuhan's eyes flashed with a fierce light. "If anyone dies, it's you." Zhualengyue would never allow Feng Wuhan to bring any trouble to Su Chen, even if she had to risk her life. There was a trace of disdain in Feng Wuhan's voice. "Then you can try and see if I can kill you all in an instant." Feng Wuyin was very clear about his brother's character. He immediately moved and stood in front of Feng Wuhan, Zhualengyue, and Su Yun. He was worried that this guy would really make a sudden attack. If he and Su Chen couldn't react in time, Zhualengyue and Su Yun's lives would be in danger. Su Chen also finally walked towards Su Yun for the first time. Su Yun felt a trace of nervousness. He didn't know why he felt nervous, but he was nervous. "Kid," Su Chen said indifferently, "you've grown so big." Su Yun nodded, not knowing how to answer. Although Su Chan had been here for so many years and didn't know anything about what had happened outside, he was a smart person and had the most basic judgment. When did your godfather ride a crane? When Su Chen asked this, his tone was very calm. He would say this because he believed that with Zhang Lingji's ability, if he was still alive, he would have broken through to the Sky Profound Realm. Today, both Zhuo Langyue and Mu Baichen were Sky Profound Realm experts. If Zhang Yiji was still alive, how could he not come here immediately? Su Chen did not see Zhang Jinji, so he knew that Zhang Jinji must have left. Su Yun was silent for a moment. When we get out, you can go to his tombstone to take a look. The time is clearly written on the tombstone. Su Chen smiled. Although his son was like him, the strength in his bones was exactly the same as his mother, Yun Luoyan. When he said this, Su Chen completely saw Yun Luoyan's shadow in him. Why are you two together? Su Chen looked at Su Yun and then at Zhuo Lingyue. There were some things that he felt he didn't need to explain to his son. Originally, Su Yun wanted Zhuo Langyue to speak, but the shadow of Yun Luoyan on Su Yun made him stand in front of Su Chen. It's because of Xiaoye, by Xiaoye. Su Yun, you and Auntie's was daughter. In order to save you, she is now in a dangerous environment above. Su Yun's words were very blunt, making it difficult for Su Chen to accept. After all, he was the father. He could not accept his son's impudence in front of him. But it was the truth. Before Su Yun met Su Chen, his son could forgive all the wrong things he did. He had never blamed him. But the moment he saw him, all the worries he had were gone. That was why he felt a sense of hatred. Although it wasn't true hatred, it was still an uncontrollable emotion. Don't say these things in front of me. Feng Wuhan couldn't listen. Su Chen, you can't beat me, so you want to show off your son in front of me? Do you think I care? Let me tell you, I also have a son, and my son will live well and give my Feng family a grandson. And your children will stay here forever because of you, stay in this damned place, never to rise again. Shut up. Feng Wuyin finally exploded. He couldn't take it anymore, and there was no need to take it anymore. If you are really thinking for the Feng family, then tell me immediately where he is. Feng Wuhan sneered at Feng Wuyin. If you can beat me, I will tell you. All right. Feng Wuyin said sternly, then I will bring you into the realm. As he spoke, Feng Wuyin directly pressed Feng Wuhan down and sat on the ground. The two of them instantly entered the realm to fight. Before Su Chen could react, the two of them had completely entered the realm of divine sense. Not good. Su Chen frowned and said, Feng Wuhan is very powerful. We've been fighting endlessly. This is the fastest way to improve one's strength. Brother Wuyin definitely can't win against him. If his cultivation is sucked away by Feng Wuhan, then we'll be in trouble. Then you are helping him by entering the realm. Mu Baichen hurriedly said. Just now, Feng Wuhan and I were unable to walk out of the realm of divine sense because our bodies were disturbed. It was Brother Wuyin who brought us out. Su Chen shook his head. Feng Wuhan and I are unable to enter the realm by ourselves. It was Brother Wuyin who brought Feng Wuhan into the realm. I can't enter. Zhuo Langyue had a better idea. If the person who enters the realm is disturbed, there will be trouble. The soul-stealing blade in Zhuo Langyue's hand flashed again. This is a good opportunity to kill Feng Wuhan. This person has no reason to live in this world. No. Su Chen stopped Zhuo Langyue. Right now, they have entered Brother Wuin's realm of divine sense. Even if you injure Feng Wuhan, it will also disturb Brother Wuin. He will also suffer a backlash. Why is this happening? Zhuo Langyue frowned. Mu Baichen was also helpless. If killing Feng Wuhan at this time could solve the problem, that would be great. The realm of divine sense must be connected. Su Chen said, so we must not do such a thing to disturb or hurt Brother Wuin. Even if it doesn't disturb or hurt Senior Feng, we still shouldn't make a move on him. Su Yun had the opposite idea from Zhuo Langyue. Senior Feng brought his brother into the realm because he wants to know about the descendants of the Feng clan. This is the answer he wants, and this is also his only chance. We can't destroy his chance to get the answer. Zhuo Lengyue shook his head, but if he fails and his cultivation is absorbed by Feng Wuhan will become even stronger. At that time, even your father won't be his opponent. Mu Baichen agreed. Compared to this, I think the descendants of the Feng clan are not important at all. I can't let such a threat appear in the world. As long as he absorbs Feng Wuhan's cultivation, all of us will be finished when he comes out. If he walks out of Marty Franz Island, the entire world will be in danger. What are you doing? Su Yun was stunned for a moment. He suddenly felt that Mu Baichen's state was not right. Mu Baichen looked at Su Yun. I think it's better if you don't care about some things. Even if I have to sacrifice Feng Wuhan, I can't let Feng Wuhan have any chance to take advantage of me. Absolutely not. Su Yun directly blocked Feng Wuhan and Feng Wuhan behind him. Revered Dark. You can't do this. It's very despicable. Despicable? Mu Baichen frowned. I don't care what you think of me, but I know very well that if I were to prove to you that I am a so-called righteous person and cause Feng Wuhan, this madman, to reappear in the light of day, I will feel ashamed even if I die. That way, I will regret and blame myself. Su Yun was stunned. He suddenly realized that Mu Baichen's thoughts were different from theirs. Mu Baichen was thinking about the entire big world. The people of the dock department were very sensitive to the small feelings between people. They were only sensitive to big feelings, so Su Yun really didn't need to be surprised by Mu Baichen's actions. For the people of the dock department, this was very normal. Especially since Mu Baichen was the revered dock of the dock department. He was naturally a person who didn't care about small feelings at all. No, as long as I am here, I will never allow you to do this. Su Yun also insisted on blocking the two of them. Chapter 4066. Do you think you can stop me? Mu Baichen looked at Su Yun. Kid, although I have always admired you, but if there is a difference in principles, I will not give in because of my admiration. This is indeed a matter of principles. Su Yun nodded. Senior Feng appeared here to help us, and also fought with Feng Wuhan for us. If we do something unjust at this time, wouldn't we have no principles at all? Mu Baichen said coldly, My principles are not your principles. What's more, the members of the dock group are not human. From the day I joined the dock group, I was already dead. I'm just a ghost in the dock group, a ghost who works for the sake of the overall safety of the organization. Although Mu Baichen spoke very firmly, Su Yun still had no intention of giving in. Revered dock department, don't force me. I should be the one saying that to you. Mu Baichen said, It is you who is forcing me, not me who is forcing you. The ghosts of the dock department are not used for this kind of thing. Su Chen said with a slight smile. Mu Baichen's gaze moved from Su Yun to Su Chen. He is young, and doesn't know anything. You are different. You should be very clear about my duties. Su Chen nodded, and said expressionlessly, Yes, I am very clear about your duties. This is also the reason why I am still standing here to talk to you. Hearing Su Chen's words, Mu Baichen's body clearly stiffened. He did not expect Su Chen to throw him such a threatening sentence. Have you been here for too long, so you have forgotten your identity? Mu Baichen asked. You should remember what your identity is, right? You should be very clear about what you are saying, right? Perhaps I have been here for too long, so I really don't remember my identity. Su Chen heard this and laughed. Moreover, I have been here for so many years, what identity do I have? Mu Baichen was speechless. The only identity in my mind right now is that I am his father. Su Chen looked at Su Yun, and then used a very serious warning to warn Mu Baichen. I only know that if anyone wants to hurt him, I will definitely eliminate the person who threatens my son at the first possible moment. Mu Baichen saw that Su Chen had made his stand clear and had nothing to say. All right, I understand. Mu Baichen nodded. Then you'll regret it. Su Chen smiled. What's there to regret? Have you forgotten why you stayed in this damned place for so many years? Mu Baichen said, If Feng Wuyin had hardened his heart and gotten rid of the scum of the Feng family back then, you wouldn't be here now. At that time, it was because of his own soft-heartedness that Feng Wuhan seriously injured him, causing him to spend many years to adjust his state of mind. It was also because of him that you were involved in this damned matter. Mu Baichen's words hit the nail on the head. Even Zhua Lengyue stood on Mu Baichen's side. That's right. If it wasn't for the two of them, you wouldn't have been trapped in this damned place for so many years. There is something called fate. Su Chen said, the arrangements that fate has given me are things that I can't change. I, Su Chen, have this calamity in my life. Even if it wasn't because of them, I would have suffered a calamity that I couldn't escape from because of other things. Fate. Mu Baichen said, you believe in such a thing? Su Chen smiled slightly. Before I came here, I never believed in it. People would change. At some times, it was very difficult for people to understand the changes in people. At least now, many people couldn't see through Su Chen. Many times, Su Chen himself couldn't see through himself. In the past, he thought that man could conquer the heavens. His fate was up to him, not the heavens. This was also Su Yun's current mentality. But after being here for so many years, his mentality had changed too much, and his thoughts had also changed too much. This kind of combination of fixed numbers and variables was mysterious in the eyes of many people, but in Su Chen's eyes, it wasn't that mysterious. Fate determined one's entire life. There was a prime minister of the northern Song dynasty, who was also the imperial tutor of the crown prince. There was an article that had been passed down to this day. It was called Fate. A centipede has 100 legs, but cannot move as fast as a snake. A rooster has 2 wings, but cannot fly as fast as a crow. Tyrant Chu was strong, but lost to the Wu River and committed suicide. The king of Han was weak, but had thousands of miles of territory. Li Guang had the power to shoot down a tiger, but had no title. Feng Tang had the talent to ride a dragon, but had never met a dragon in his life. With a belly full of essays, white hair couldn't hit the mark. With little talent and shallow learning, he passed the imperial examination at a young age. A young beauty, but attracted a foolish husband. A handsome gentleman, but matched with a coarse and ugly woman. This was fate. Without the right time, the sun and moon have no light. Without the earth, plants and trees do not grow. Without the water, the wind and waves are uneven. Without the people, fortune does not flow. Without meeting the flood dragon, he dives among the fish and turtles. When a gentleman loses, he bows his hands to a villain. Some were poor and then rich, some were old and strong and young. With unparalleled essays, Kong Zi was superior to Chen Bang. With outstanding military strategy, Tai Gong fishes in the water. Before Han Xian met him, there were no 3 meals a day, and passers-by were bullied by everyone. When he met him, he had the military seal on his waist, and had the power to control the life and death of the world. This was the right time, the right time. Fortune and wealth were already arranged by fate, who did not want riches and honor. If one did not follow the foundation of the 8 characters, how could one be a minister? I used to live in Luoyang. In the morning I begged for monks' meals, in the evening I slept in a broken cellar. My clothes could not cover my body, my food could not satisfy my hunger. My superiors hated me, my subordinates hated me. People said I was cheap, but I did not abandon them. Now in the imperial court, I am a top official, with 3 positions. Although I bow down to one person, I am above millions of people. I have a staff to scold hundreds of officials, a sword to cut down contempt. When I think of clothes, I have 1,000 boxes of brocade. When I think of food, I have 100 delicacies. When I go out, I have a strong warrior with a whip. When I enter, I have a beautiful woman holding a cup of wine. People said I am precious, but not because of my ability. This was the right time, the right time, the right time, and the right time. This essay, if the same person read it at different times, would have different feelings and understandings. When Su Chen was young, his feelings towards this essay would be completely different from now. Mu Baichen wanted to clarify their current dangerous situation. If this time, Feng Wuyin still fails, just by myself, I can still trap Feng Wuhan here. Su Chen interrupted Mu Baichen and said, I have already experienced more than 20 years here. I don't care about another 20 years, or even more. Su Chen's words were from the bottom of his heart, honest and sincere. If that's the case, wouldn't so many of us coming here to save you be like drawing water with a bamboo basket? Zhuo Langyue could not accept this result. If you are destined to draw water with a bamboo basket, even if I leave today, there will still be other unexpected things waiting for me. Su Chen said with a smile. The current him was very open-minded about everything. No, I definitely won't allow it. Zhuo Langyue refused. If we can't leave, I will stay behind to accompany you. Your fate will definitely not let you stay here. Su Chen said, Did Ling Feng and the others come with you? It's impossible for them to let you come here alone. As long as they come, they will definitely not let you make a willful decision. Zhuo Langyue said coldly, Do you think they dare to stop me? Then why do you think they don't dare? Su Chen asked back. Zhuo Langyue was instantly speechless. What else could she say at this time? In fact, she knew Ling Feng and the others better than Su Chen, so she knew very well what they would do and what they would choose. This was something that Zhuo Langyue could not change. Indeed, this might be a kind of fate's decision. Some things are destined. Su Chen said, So whether I can walk out of here is not something I can change. The so-called defying the heavens and changing fate is just nonsense in novels. It will not happen in reality. In reality, everyone can only accept their fate. Chapter 4067. Mu Baichen helplessly shook his head. This father and son pair really made him unable to make a move. Their personalities determined that under any circumstances, they would not easily submit to the position of others, even if it was their own family. So Mu Baichen could clearly see that he could not control any of them. If Mu Baichen was only facing Su Yun, he still had a chance to act, but now that he had to face Su Chen, he had no confidence at all. Su Chen's current strength was not something Mu Baichen dared to estimate. He and Feng Wuhan had constantly fought in this sealed space, and the experience he had accumulated was enough to make people stupefied. Perhaps you think your decision is correct now, but if things continue to develop, you will definitely regret it. Mu Baichen warned Su Yun, Don't forget, how many people came here because of you. Do you really want to gamble everyone's lives for one person? This was not some psychological trick Mu Baichen was playing. It was not a trick Mu Baichen used to persuade Su Yun. It was just a simple sentence in his heart. Mu Baichen believed that Su Yun could understand the meaning of his words. He did not have any other meaning. He really just wanted Su Yun to understand just how great the price they had to pay. How could Su Yun not know this price in his heart? He also did not want the people who came here because of him to be implicated by him. Revered Dark, if the people above have solved the problem, you take them out of the prison first. Su Yun, to solve this matter, one more person, one less person, does not have much meaning. I just hope that everyone can leave here safely. These people came because of you, they will not abandon you. Mu Baichen said, I do not have the means to take them out of here. Su Yun smiled faintly, I believe you have the ability, the brothers of the Dark Department definitely have the ability. Don't flatter me. No matter how high the hat is, I will not promise you something I cannot accomplish. Mu Baichen immediately rejected. Facts proved that his rejection was correct. At the same time, Han Zhan was also hiding in the prison because of the tornado outside the prison. He closed the door tightly. He had no other choice. Marty Franz Island was now in the center of the ocean tornado, and their yacht had been swept away by the storm. Han Zhan had no other choice. If he did not close the prison door, once the seawater began to pour in, it would not stop. Perhaps in an instant, the entire prison would be filled with seawater. At that time, everyone would be in an environment where there was only a slim chance of survival. Although closing the door now put everyone in an environment where there was a slim chance of survival, at least they were still alive. As long as he was alive, he would be able to think of a solution. Yu Meiren was safely brought into the large group. With everyone's protection, her mood calmed down a lot. When Han Zhan rushed in and explained the situation outside, the smiles on Lu Xuanji and Wang Yi's faces were almost gone. This problem was enough to give them a headache for a while. Now all of us are trapped here. Lu Xuanji laughed bitterly. Who has a good idea? Everyone was at a loss. They had just spent all their energy to lock all the undead guards in the prison. Now they had to face such a difficult problem. Their minds were definitely at a loss. Yi Xue's forehead and the tip of her nose were sweating. You guys can think of a way to get out. Let's go down and see what's going on. Maybe we can help. When Lu Xianyu heard this, she hurriedly said to her, "This isn't a joke. Su Ling, old Gu from your school, and that drunkard are down there. You don't have to worry. Since old Gu left you here, he naturally has his reasons. Senior Lu, don't worry. Not only is there Principal Gu on the 3rd floor, there is also Zhue Ming and Lone Wolf. We will not be in danger if we go." Yi Xue insisted on going. Being called senior, Lu Xianyu's neck turned red from embarrassment. As a senior, he didn't want to continue walking down this path. After all, he was also a senior. If he went down and was beaten to a pulp by his opponents, how could he survive in the Jianghu in the future? At this time, Lu Xianyu could only place his hopes on Wang Yi. He hoped that Wang Yi could say something to make them stay. But he did not expect that Wang Yi would have the same idea. Since we have already solved the problem on the 2nd floor, the earlier we go down, the earlier we can help them. Wang Yi, are you crazy? Prisoners who have not broken through the Earth-Profound Realm are not qualified to be locked up on the 3rd floor. Lu Xianyu was speechless. Even Bai Xiaoye, who just broke through the Earth-Profound Realm, wanted to stay on the 2nd floor at the beginning. Aren't we just going to die if we go down? Senior Lu, aren't you a bit too cowardly? Qian Feng frowned and looked at Lu Xianyu. I'm cowardly? Lu Xianyu sighed. Fine, you can say whatever you want about me. But I have to tell you today that everything I do is for your own good. It is all for your sake. I don't care what you think of me. At this time, we have no other choice. Wang Yi glared at Qian Feng, hinting him not to speak carelessly, and said to Lu Xianyu. He understood Lu Xianyu. He was a guy who did not want to provoke any trouble. To a certain extent, it could be said that he was cowardly. But looking at the problem from a macro perspective, everything he did was because of his cautious nature. He was a cautious person, an extremely cautious person. It could be said that every cell in Lu Xianyu's body was extremely cautious. To him, any little bit of danger should be avoided as much as possible. This was also the reason why Lu Xianyu had never been injured in the underground world for so many years. If you have no other choice, then don't make a choice. Lu Xianyu said, "What we are doing now is not betraying our teammates. We have already won the bronze level team battle. Why should we go to the gold level team battle and die? Do we still have to continue after winning the gold level team battle? Go and fight the diamond level team? Go and fight the king level team? At that time, our only purpose would be to kill them." Thinking about it carefully, Lu Xianyu's words were not without reason. If they went, it would indeed be like killing themselves. Then what do you plan to do? Just wait like this? Yi Xue's voice had a hint of annoyance. Lu Xianyu shook his head. I just don't want to bring any trouble to them. We won't bring any trouble. Even if we help them deal with the undead guards, it will be considered as helping them. Yi Xue said. If Senior Lu doesn't go, I have nothing to say. But there are a few people from the Hunter School on the 3rd floor. If we don't go, it will be the same as going back on our word. After saying this, Yi Xue turned and walked to the entrance of the 3rd floor. Look at his boldness. Hua Xiaolu chuckled and said to Wang Yi, Master, Wen Xiao, Lin Gu, they are all members of the Dragon Brigade. Although Lin Gu had left later, he had also been in the Dragon Brigade when he was young. Needless to say, Wen Shao was even more so. We have already sworn to live and die together. We can't just ignore them. Hua Leiteng rarely said such things, but for some reason, there was a fire in his heart that needed to be vented. Live and die together. Qian Feng and the others said in unison. Wang Yi smiled faintly. We have already come out without any organization or discipline. Even if I give you an order now, you will definitely not dare to obey. So, I have nothing to say. Do what you want to do. Wang Yi. Why are you as brainless as those youngsters? Lu Xianyu was completely dumbfounded. Lu Xuanji saw that everyone was ready to go down. Even Bu Fifan and Bai Liang, who were not strong enough, were getting impatient. He could only laugh and follow the majority's choice. What we need now is not brains, but hot blood. Lu Xianyu shook his head helplessly. You should know that the truth is always in the hands of the minority. Going down to die is an absolutely stupid choice. Not necessarily. Zhua Meiyan smiled as she walked past Lu Xianyu. Senior Lu, sometimes, morale can change the course of events. What we need now is morale, not caution. Chapter 4068. Lu Xianyu frowned. He did not agree with this statement at all. Morale was important, but it could not change one's strength. Morale only existed in battles where the difference in strength was close. Once one's strength was completely unable to contend against the enemy, morale and the like were all nonsense. It was completely equivalent to nonsense. You're all a bunch of lunatics. Lu Xianyu saw that everyone was rushing towards the third floor and had no choice but to follow closely behind. Following the crowd down to the third floor, her mouth was still chattering non-stop. I will definitely not allow you to act recklessly. Lunatics. You're all a bunch of lunatics. Although Lu Xianyu kept saying that, her feet followed closely behind the crowd without missing a step. Even if he knew that it was difficult for him to gain a foothold on the third floor, he would still choose to fight for the people around him. He would not back down because of this. Fortunately, the people on the third floor did not disappoint Lu Xianyu. Lu Xianyu prayed that they had taken care of all the trouble along the way. As expected, when they arrived on the third floor, Lin Gu and CFAIs worked together and kicked the last undying guard into the cell. All the prisoners on the third floor had been conquered by them. They suffered heavy casualties. Even if they were not dead, they were on the verge of death. After all, CFAIs and Lin Gu, as well as Zhue Ming and Lone Wolf from the Hunter Academy, were the kind of people who could not stop once they started fighting. They would make their opponents collapse completely. They would not stop until the very last moment. The prisoners on the third floor could only blame themselves for being lucky when they encountered these fellows. They had to face so many lunatics at once. Lu Xianyu let out a long sigh of relief. He looked around and was relieved when he saw that there were no more threats. Why is beautiful big sister here? Lin Ji's eyes were sharp. He saw Yu Meiren when the others were still asking about the situation on the second floor. Yu Meiren frowned and nodded. She told everyone about the tornado outside. When Lin Gu found out that the prison door was closed and no one outside could open it for them, he was completely dumbfounded. Didn't this mean that they were completely locked inside? Everyone was going to be trapped in the Marty Francis Island felon prison? Did we go too far this time? Lin Gu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are you kidding me? This is not a joke. Please don't scare us. When Han Zhan and the others placed the food in front of everyone, they had no choice but to believe it. External forces can't destroy the prison door at all? CFAI said helplessly, there should be some effect, right? I tried. Han Zhan said, at least with my full strength, the prison's door and walls won't be damaged at all. This material is really amazing. It seems to be able to absorb all kinds of external forces. It's definitely not something that external forces can destroy. That can only mean that we don't have enough power. If we have enough power, we can definitely destroy it. Lin Gu firmly believed. Yi Shuai was more concerned about the principal and the others. She asked Dong Fong Fan, "Where's the principal?" The situation on the 4th floor might be more troublesome than we thought, so the headmaster and Xian Yuanji have already gone down. Compared to here, the 4th floor needs more manpower. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go to the 4th floor to help. Wan Xiao said and was about to lead the way down. Fortunately, Lu Xianyu reacted quickly and pulled him back. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to control him. Wait for a moment. We just prepared ourselves to die on the 3rd floor, and you want to bring them down to the 4th floor? Have you ever thought that some people can't even stand on the 4th floor? That includes you. Maybe you don't even have the strength and capital to stand on the 4th floor. If you go down, it's the same as sending yourself to death. Wan Xiao was stunned for a moment. He was actually speechless. I think we should think about it at length, Lu Xianyu said. He wasn't a coward who was afraid of death. He really felt that sending himself to death was meaningless. Listen to my analysis. If we go down, the chances of us dying are as high as 80%. If we stay here and think about how to open the prison door, there's at least a few percent chance, right? So what choice should we make? You know very well. Thinking of a way isn't something a rough person like me can do. Wan Xiao waved his hand and said, I can't think of anything even if I stay here. I might as well go and help. As long as I can do something, even if I die, it's something I'm willing to do. Lu Xianyu was completely speechless towards Wan Zhao's words. Staying here is just waiting for death for me, Lin Ge said. I want to continue fighting. I can't think of a way out. No matter how beautifully we win the battle inside, it's useless if we don't have a way out. Lu Xianyu said, I beg of you, can't you see the priority? He was indeed a little anxious. At this time, if anyone lost their cool, it would be a blow to everyone. It won't be too late for you to leave after hearing what he has to say. Wang Yi was also very clear that the people he brought from the 2nd floor might be able to stand on the 3rd floor, but if they went to the 4th floor, it would really be like fighting kings with bronze. They had no chance of winning. So at this time, what they needed was to calm down. Moreover, Wang Yi would never allow Bai Xiaoye to follow Lin Ge and the others to the 4th floor. Bai Xiaoye was the daughter of Su Chen and the Empress. If anything happened to her, who knew if Sui Langyue would break down and flip out? Now that Su Yun had followed them into a place where they could lose their lives at any time, he had to ensure that Bai Xiaoye stayed in a relatively safe place for her. Wang Yi had some understanding of Sui Langyue. That radical woman could explode at any time. While Marty Franz Island was going through a lot of trouble, Wan Guangxiao, who was far away in Yanjing, didn't stop there either. Especially when an anonymous secret notice appeared in his confidential mailbox, Wan Guangxiao completely exploded. He immediately opened the satellite cloud image and entered the latitude and longitude coordinates of Marty Franz Island. The satellite image changed instantly, and Wan Guangxiao could see the current state of Marty Franz Island in real time. At this moment, Marty Franz Island was surrounded by 4 large marine tornadoes, and Marty Franz Island was in the center of the 4 tornadoes. Therefore, the island would be damaged by the 4 tornadoes. All of this happened too suddenly. Wan Guangxiao quickly contacted a meteorologist to ask for the reason, only to learn that this was the aftereffect of the violent collision of the continental plates. These were also unpredictable and completely unexpected events. But now, Wan Guangxiao knew the seriousness of this matter. The secret notice he received was the notice that the World Alliance Organization wanted to give up Marty Franz Island. Once this happened, the relevant departments of the organization immediately realized the danger. Previously, there had been a riot here, which made many people propose to give up the prison for serious criminals. Now that there was a natural disaster, more people agreed to give up this place. If they wanted to give up, they would use destructive weapons to completely blow up Marty Franz Island. In other words, the ordinary people of the world who didn't know about this would never know about the existence of such an island. Whether in history, on maps, or in any book, there would be no introduction to Marty Franz Island. As long as this island was blown up, it would become as if it had never existed. Pa-dash. Wan Guangxiao's fist slammed on the table. He would never agree to launch an operation to destroy Marty Franz Island. He had to stop it. Otherwise, all the people inside would be finished. Wan Guangxiao took a deep breath and began to seriously reply to this email. He also immediately communicated and contacted the people in charge of various countries. At this time, Wan Guangxiao wanted to let them know that there were heroes in Marty Franz Island who had sacrificed their lives for their country as the undead guards. Even if they had to destroy Marty Franz Island, they couldn't give up these people as garbage. That would be a great disrespect to them. Therefore, Wan Guangxiao absolutely wouldn't allow them to run amok. Even if they had to destroy Marty Franz Island, they had to rescue all the undead guards in the prison, bury them properly, or do other things. Anyway, they couldn't be blown up and abandoned like garbage. This was his bottom line. Chapter 4069. Wan Guangxiao dialed the number and received an official reply. The Pacific Ocean was close to Japan, and it was located in the middle of the superpowers. Therefore, in 4 hours, an impromptu meeting would be held at an international conference center there. The main issue to be resolved at the meeting was the issue of Marty Franz Island. The main person in charge of this matter from each country had already prepared to take the most advanced flight equipment to the meeting venue. Wan Guangxiao was the person in charge of this matter from Huaxia. Naturally, he arranged for a plane to rush to the meeting venue immediately. His speed was faster than some of the countries that were further away. Therefore, when he arrived, other than the person in charge from Japan, the other people in charge from the 10 superpowers had not arrived yet. The Japanese took this matter quite seriously. The Land Chief of Staff and the Unified Chief of Staff had personally arrived. This guy called Okamura Komoto was not simple. It was said that his grandfather was the supreme commander of North China after the Battle of the 100 Regiments. He was the third of the 3 feathered crows of the Showa warlords. Therefore, Okamura Komoto had been in contact with the military since he was young. His personality was also very arrogant. Facing Wan Guangxiao, Okamura Komoto did not treat him well. He seemed to know very well that Huaxia would be the first to arrive. "We meet again. I hope there won't be any conflict this time." This was the first sentence Okamura Komoto said when he saw Wan Guangxiao. Wan Guangxiao naturally did not give a warm reply to such expressionless words. "I won't attack unless I'm attacked. If I'm attacked, I'll kill them." Wan Guangxiao had said this at an international strategic cooperation meeting last time. At that time, he said this to the lackeys of the American Empire. At that meeting, the American Empire was quite tough, and the Japanese also used a kind of, "you have to look at the owner before you hit the dog" face. In the end, Wan Guangxiao was a person who would hit the dog even if he looked at the owner, causing the Japanese to lose face. Therefore, Okamura Komoto hated Wan Guangxiao very much. Or rather, he was afraid of him. However, as the second generation of the Japanese military, the arrogance in him would never allow him to admit this fear. He lied to himself and told himself that this was not fear, but hatred. This time, we're here for a common interest. Okamura Komoto said, "There doesn't seem to be anything to argue about, right? Mutual benefit?" Wan Guangxiao frowned. "I don't want the brave warriors of our country to be buried in the ocean like that." Okamura Komoto said, "They are heroes, so their souls and bodies should return to their countries. Their souls will do everything they can to protect our country. I'm going to take them back to the shrine. Receive the worship of the people." Hearing this, Wan Guangxiao was indeed disgusted. Perhaps the shrine was sacred to the Japanese. To be able to dedicate such a large piece of land to their heroes in Tokyo where every inch of land was worth an inch of gold, they were indeed very nationalistic. But to the people of Huaxia, they were all war criminals. With different standpoints, the perspective of things would be different. To the people of Huaxia, those war criminals deserved to die. They were shameless. They deserved to go to hell. But in the eyes of the Japanese, they were sacred. The Japanese would worship those bastards very sincerely. Sometimes, Wan Guangxiao felt quite ashamed. At least in this case. An invading country like Dongying would enshrine those who had contributed to their country in a shrine. But what about Hua Xia? Shouldn't those martyrs who had sacrificed their lives to protect their country be enshrined by the later generations as well? Once upon a time, many cities in Hua Xia had martyrs' cemeteries. The people of the 80s and 90s should still have memories of going to the martyrs' cemeteries when they were young, right? Even as a child, when they offered the white flower on their chest to the martyrs, they would have an indescribable feeling in their hearts. It was a kind of passion and surging, a kind of faith in the martyrs. Without them, there wouldn't be our present. To be precise, it was because of them that there was a new Hua Xia life. These people should be worshipped. These people are the most worthy of our Hua Xia's respect. But now, how many children after 2000 didn't know what a martyr's cemetery was? In the country, how many martyrs' cemeteries had been bought by real estate developers and built into communities? Wasn't this something to be ashamed of? It wasn't just the real estate developers who bought this kind of land that were embarrassed. It was also the bastard officials who sold this kind of land to the developers who should be embarrassed. For the sake of GDP, they could do anything. At a certain stage, Hua Xia was indeed like this. Okamura Komoto's words made Wan Guangxiao feel deeply. From this perspective, he really didn't have the right to mock Okamura Komoto. I also want to bring back our country's heroes, Wan Guangxiao said. I won't let our country's heroes' corpses sink into the sea. Does your country also have shrines and altars for them? Okamura Komoto's words were laced with knives. He was mocking Wan Guangxiao. Wan Guangxiao ignored Okamura Komoto's sarcasm because he really couldn't find any way to refute Okamura Komoto's words. No matter what kind of person Okamura Komoto was, his country did have shrines for them. But Hua Xia, when Wan Guangxiao clenched his fists, Okamura Komoto didn't say anything more. Sometimes, he was really afraid of this General Hua Xia. After the two of them arrived, the people in charge of other countries also came to the meeting place one after another. In addition to Hua Xia and Japan, the representatives of other powerful countries also came, including the United States, Germany, England, France, Italy, Spain, Canada, and Russia. After the representatives of these countries arrived one after another, the meeting could officially begin. As everyone knew, the U.S. empire had the longest hands, the biggest mouth, and the widest reach in international affairs. This time, the representative of the U.S. empire to participate in this meeting was a deputy minister of the U.S. empire's National Security Department, Baikal. Baikal had always been known for his big mouth, and this time, he didn't disappoint. As soon as the meeting began, Baikal said, "There's actually nothing to discuss about the problem we're facing now. The simplest way is to destroy the entire Martifran Island. As long as the entire Martifran Island is destroyed, the people inside won't be a problem for our society. Besides this, is there no other way to solve the problem?" Wan Guangxiao raised his own opinion at that time. "I don't agree with you doing this. This is absolutely impossible." "What's wrong with that?" Baikal asked back. "What's the loss to Huaxia?" "No, right? Since there's nothing to lose, I'll have to trouble you to shut up and listen to me." Wan Guangxiao didn't have any intention of giving face to Baikal. "You should be the one to shut your mouth. What you want to destroy is not only the trouble in the prison on Martifran Island, but also the people who look after the trouble." "Oh, sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear you clearly." Baikal sneered. "The people who look after the trouble? Do you think those people can still be called human? Are they human?" As he said that, Baikal looked at everyone. "Let's evaluate. Those people who are already dead, are they still human? I really don't understand what you Hua Xia people are thinking. Is there something in your brain that shouldn't be there?" Wan Guangxiao frowned. "The United States always talks about human rights, but the things they do are not humane at all." "Sorry, human rights are for people, not the dead," Baikal said. "I think you're very suitable to be a guard." "Ha ha. I believe there must be others who think the same as me. Okamura Komoto, am I right?" Baikal's gaze fell on Okamura Komoto. He believed that the Japanese wouldn't act rashly in front of them. They would do whatever they said. The Japanese definitely wouldn't dare to say no. Wan Quangxiao's gaze also fell on Okamura Komoto. After all, he was very touched by what this guy said to him just now. It was time to slap the United States in the face. Okamura Komoto, you really should say something. Wan Quangxiao said sternly. Chapter 4070. Facing the domineering Baikalil, Okamura laughed dryly. I think Mr. Baikalil is right. This is indeed the case. They're already dead. We don't have to make a fuss over some dead people. Okamura's attitude changed very quickly. Wan Quangxiao was completely stunned. He had a certain amount of respect for Okamura just now. At least, when he talked about integrity, about heroes, and about faith, Wan Quangxiao was touched. He never thought that the integrity of the Japanese that was worthy of his respect would be so vulnerable in front of the United States. Do you think those undead who died in the battle at Okinawa will forgive you when you say those words? Wan Quangxiao's tone was filled with displeasure. Don't you feel like your face is burning? Okamura's expression changed. Back then, the Japanese were about to be defeated, so they placed 70,000 soldiers on Okinawa. They wanted to stall the American Pacific Fleet and win the final victory. However, the Americans sent 400,000 to 500,000 soldiers, as well as all kinds of planes, cannons, and aircraft carriers. After 3 days of 3D bombardment, the Americans successfully landed on Okinawa. However, they couldn't find any Japanese on the island. At that time, the Japanese sent out countless planes to crash into the American Pacific Fleet in a suicidal manner, causing the American Pacific Fleet to suffer heavy losses. Then, the Japanese main force hidden on Okinawa launched a powerful counterattack against the American Pacific Fleet. The battle with such a huge disparity in strength was extremely tragic. It lasted for 80 days. The Americans really didn't win easily back then. Putting aside the hatred between the races, just looking at the spirit of a soldier who risked his life for his country, Wan Quangxiao really admired the Japanese kamikaze special attack team back then. In that tragic battle, the spirit and integrity that the Japanese displayed was indeed worthy of being studied by any country's soldiers. Back then, during the Battle of Okinawa, the Japanese prepared 5,000 planes. None of them carried bombs. Instead, they were filled with explosives. They were specifically used to launch suicidal attacks on the American Pacific Fleet. Over the past 80 days, the Japanese had sent out close to 8,000 airplanes, of which 2,000 were suicide bombers. Although 4,000 of them were shot down, they had still caused great losses to the American Empire. They had sunk more than 30 American warships and heavily damaged more than 300. Of the 33 American warships that were sunk, 26 were sunk by suicide planes. This doesn't include the number of British ships that were damaged or lost. Wan Quangxiao said calmly, "You're a Japanese. You know Japanese history better than I do." The meaning of Wan Quangxiao's words was very clear. He was insulting Okamura. In the eyes of the Japanese, the demons and bastards in the eyes of the Chinese were the heroes of their country. They didn't even fear the American Empire. As for the Japanese of today, where did their so-called moral integrity and backbone go? The current Japanese was no longer the fearless country that dared to face the Americans head-on, even in the face of defeat. The current Japanese, at least in terms of leadership, had become a lackey of the Americans. Wan Quangxiao, isn't it a little inappropriate for you to say all this now? So many years have passed since the Battle of Okinawa. Bringing it up now, your motives are not pure. Baikalil laughed coldly. It's a peaceful era now. The cooperation between the Americans and Japanese is no longer the same as before. Indeed, it's no longer the same as before. Wan Quangxiao laughed. Back then, I admired the Japanese kamikaze special attack team very much. They died one after another in the Battle of Okinawa. But now, there are American troops stationed on Okinawa Island. Things are different now. This phrase is used very well. Baikalil's face instantly fell. But what Wan Quangxiao said was the truth. Moreover, he said it in such a joking tone. It was not convenient for him to fly into a rage. The one who felt the most uncomfortable was Okamura Komoto. After all, he was a Japanese. In the current situation, the one who felt the most pain should be him. In front of so many people, he had to put down his pride, put on a smile, and openly add insult to the wretched Baikalil of the American Empire. How did this feel in his heart? If it wasn't for the incompetent Prime Minister, as someone who came from a military family, Okamura Komoto would definitely not be able to accept himself doing such a thing. But the current era was no longer the same as before. He had no choice but to hide in his kennel like a puppy. After all, the Americans had the final say now. Even their Prime Minister had to be like a dog. What could he do? To challenge the United States? To be honest, during World War II, the Japanese were indeed beaten into submission by the Americans. This was different from Hua Xia. Although Hua Xia won the war to invade China, they really couldn't beat the Japanese into submission. Wan Guangxiao had to admit that Hua Xia did not have advanced enough weapons to beat the Japanese into submission. The combat ability of the Japanese army back then was not as weak as it was in the war dramas. They were very vicious and their individual combat ability was quite strong. In addition, Hua Xia had just walked out of the feudal dynasty. The civility of the people was still very serious. Therefore, it was impossible for Hua Xia to beat the Japanese into submission. This was also the reason why the Japanese were not willing to bow their heads in front of Hua Xia. It was because they felt that they were not defeated by Hua Xia. Their defeat was because of the powerful American Empire on the Pacific battlefield. The Japanese's values were influenced by Hua Xia. After being completely beaten into submission by the Americans, they were mentally inferior. This was something that could not be changed. Moreover, after World War II, the Americans drew a circle for the Japanese. The Japanese were to play in this circle and were not allowed to cause trouble outside. The Americans could help the Japanese deal with matters outside the circle. Perhaps the Americans' original intention was to prevent the Japanese from harming the world again. But now, it seemed that the effect was very good. Even now, the Japanese had to rely on the Americans militarily. After the war, Germany officially apologized to the surrounding countries. However, the Japanese did not. Therefore, the Japanese were still incompatible with the surrounding countries. The Japanese had no choice but to use the tiger skin of the Latin American Empire to create a flag for themselves in front of the surrounding countries. However, all of this came with a price. If they wanted the Americans to support them, they had to be obedient. If they were not obedient, the Americans would definitely not support them. Moreover, Japan's economic recovery after the war was helped by the Americans, right? Otherwise, how could the Japanese develop so quickly? Why did every Japanese prime minister suck up to the Americans like a dog? The reason was that simple. If he did not suck up to the Americans, the Japanese might become a country run by a hole. That was the price of not listening to the Americans. What could Okamura say? Could he straighten his back and say that he was a Japanese soldier, so he did not have to bend his back because he had integrity? He didn't dare. If he said that, the Prime Minister would definitely tell him to scram and make him a fart. When the Japanese were powerful, they were even more powerful than the Americans economically. But how powerful were the Americans' methods? They forced the yen to rise, created a bubble, and then viciously burst it. What did they do to the Japanese in an instant? One had to admit that the Americans' methods were too shameless. They were too despicable, shameless, and dirty. However, this was the only way to make the Japanese obedient. One had to admit that the Japanese were really despicable when it came to human conduct. Those who treated the Japanese with sincerity would definitely be bitten back. On the other hand, the Japanese were like a puppy wagging its tail when the American Empire played the Japanese for a fool. There was really nothing to explain. We're here to talk about Mardi Fran Island, not about history or international relations. Baikalil forcefully pulled the topic back. Now, I want to make it clear that if we want to eliminate future troubles, we have to completely destroy Mardi Fran's island and completely eliminate the crisis and trouble that the prison for serious criminals might bring to the world. I disagree. Wan Guangxiao was the first to stand up and reject. Chapter 4071. Bai Khalil frowned. The toughness of Wan Guangxiao's words was far beyond his imagination. They are indeed heroes. Just the fact that they sacrificed themselves for their country is enough for us to remember and pay tribute to. Bai Khalil said, they didn't care about their own bodies. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sacrificed themselves. So I believe they can understand our approach. Wan Guangxiao said bluntly, I don't care how you treat your people, but you can't treat our people the same way. What's the difference? Bai Khalil said, they're all undead gods. Do we have to treat them differently? When I joined this plan, I signed it myself. Wan Guangxiao said, it's written clearly in black and white. We can withdraw from the plan at any time and take back our people at any time. Don't tell me you don't want to admit this? Bai Khalil glared. Withdrawing from the plan means losing the benefits we can get from the plan in the future. I don't want any benefits now. Wan Guangxiao said, I only want my people. The benefits we can get from this plan in the future have nothing to do with Huaxia. It's reasonable for me to withdraw, isn't it? You have no reason to stop me. Now we're proposing to destroy Marty Francis Island. Because that place might already be out of control. Bai Khalil said, destroying it means there won't be any benefits. You're proposing to withdraw at this time? You Huaxia people are too cunning. I'm only proposing to withdraw according to the agreement. It's not crossing the line at all. Wan Guangxiao said, and the American Empire wants to terminate it just like that? That's not in line with the agreement. This is the joint plan of the 10 countries. It's not up to the American Empire to do whatever you want. Seeing that Wan Guangxiao had no intention of relenting, Bai Khalil slammed the table. But everything the American Empire does is for the benefit of all of us. It's for the benefit of all of us. Wan Guangxiao sneered, then please tell me, the US Empire has shut down the Undead Guard operation system many times without communicating with other countries. What mutual benefit is it for? When Wan Guangxiao asked Matthew to help him hack into the Undead Guard system, Matthew discovered this secret. In the past 10 years, the Undying Guard had been stopped 10 times. When they signed this agreement, the 10 nations made it very clear that if there was a need to shut down the Undead Guard operation system, the people in charge of the 10 nations had to be present for a meeting to discuss and confirm that it was a beneficial purpose. And these 10 times, the United States had used its hegemony to do things in private, and the other countries had no idea. If it wasn't for Wan Guangxiao being forced to ask Matthew to hack into the system to shut down the Undying Guard's operation system and help Su Yun and the others remotely, he wouldn't have known that the United States had secretly shut down the Undying Guard's operation system. Bai Khalil's expression changed. If it weren't for the fact that the people in charge of the other powerful countries were putting pressure on him, he would have asked Wan Guangxiao how he knew. But when people were guilty, they often couldn't react so quickly. Not to mention, the people in charge of the other powerful countries were looking at him with such strong pressure. This made Bai Khalil, who had always been quick to react, speechless. On this matter, I think the United States Empire should give us an explanation. Wan Guangxiao didn't want to use this topic to change the topic, but he really wanted to know what the United States Empire had done. The last time the United States Empire used its hegemony to order the Joint Department to shut down the Undead Guard operation system was the day before the riot at the Franks Island prison. Therefore, the other countries had no idea what kind of shameful things the United States had done, or what kind of private research the United States had done, were completely unknown to the other countries. This secret was also very important to Wan Guangxiao. After all, the American Empire would not do such a thing without benefits. They must have done it for profit. They must have shut down the Undead Guard operation system, so they must have entered the Marty Fran Island prison to carry out some kind of operation. You're saying we shut down the Undead Guard operation system? Bai Khalil finally reacted and began to ask Wan Guangxiao, what makes you say that? We didn't do this kind of thing. In the beginning, Bai Khalil's reaction had already admitted what the United States Empire had done. This was already undeniable. The people here weren't stupid. They had a deep insight into people's hearts, so they could make their own correct judgment. But if Bai-Khalil didn't admit it, no one could do anything to him. This was why Bai-Khalil immediately denied it after he thought it through. As long as he denied it, Wan Guangxiao couldn't do anything to him. Even if everyone else knew that the United States Empire had done this kind of thing, they couldn't do anything to the United States Empire. There was no evidence in the first place. The undead guards in the Franks Island prison are all controlled by a smart chip system. This smart chip system will record every shutdown and activation. You can't deny this, right? Wan Guangxiao said, "How many times did the United States shut down the system? They only need to announce the number of times the smart chip was turned off." The chip was originally developed by the United States Empire. Bai-Khalil argued, "We must test it before we release it, right? Maybe it's a test record." What's so strange about that? No one believed Bai-Khalil's sophistry. But no one could refute his sophistry. This point was used by Bai-Khalil, so if Wan Guangxiao wanted to refute him, he could only tell the truth. But if he told the truth, it would inevitably cause dissatisfaction among the other countries. At that time, if Bai-Khalil fanned the flames, the other countries would all point their spears at him. So, Wan Guangxiao couldn't admit that Matthew had hacked into the undead guard system. Moreover, this matter wasn't a legitimate means to begin with. If it wasn't to help Su Yun and the others, Wan Guangxiao wouldn't have done this behind the backs of the cooperating countries. While Wan Guangxiao was speechless, Bai-Khalil began to use difficult means to divert the attention of the other countries. "I really want to know, how do you know that the undead guard system was shut down?" Bai-Khalil retorted, "It can't be that the Huaxia did something that shouldn't be done, right? Otherwise, why would you say that?" Hearing this, Okamura Komoto immediately took advantage of the situation. "You Huaxia people are too unscrupulous, right? What did you guys do? This isn't the integrity that we agreed on when we first formed the organization." Bai-Khalil used Okamura Komoto's words to completely divert his attention. "The Huaxia people have never lacked clever people since ancient times. If you want to hack into the system, perhaps it isn't a difficult thing to do. Regarding this, I'm afraid we really need to understand it properly. Or perhaps you can explain it to us yourself." I've always heard that Bai-Khalil's adaptability and ability to bite back are second to none in the world. Seeing it today, you really live up to your reputation. Wan Guangxiao had confidence in Matthew, so he spoke very confidently. "The chip system is very advanced and very powerful. Since it was invented by the American Empire, then you can go and check if there are any traces of hackers. If there are, you can pour dirty water on me and I have nothing to say. But if there aren't, you must prove my innocence in front of the representatives of the other countries. This is related to the reputation of our country." Bai-Khalil was certain of this in his heart. He was 100% sure that Wan Guangxiao had found out the truth by hacking into the system. But Wan Guangxiao spoke so confidently, which also meant that he was confident. This made Bai-Khalil very unhappy in his heart. All along, it had been Bai-Khalil who made others eat this kind of bitter taste of gold thread. But this time, it was Wan Guangxiao who made him eat this kind of gold thread. Or, we can disclose the entire chip system's data openly now. Wan Guangxiao said, "See if there are any traces of hacking into the system, and then see if the system's shutdown and restart time was before it was put into use, or after it was put into use, or even just a few days ago when it was shut down and restarted. Then you can't say clearly, can you? This is confidential." Bai-Khalil was angry. "How can you just casually announce it?" Chapter 4072. Wan Guangxiao met force with force. Then don't slander us and say that our Huaxia hacked into the chip system. If you didn't hack into the chip system, how do you know that the chip system has been shut down? Bai-Khalil glared. "You must have hacked into the chip system." Wan Guangxiao smiled. "Looks like you are very sure that the chip system has been shut down many times. Answer my question." Why did you hack into the chip system? Khalil couldn't care less about denying the truth. Have you heard of the saying, all is fair in war? Wan Guangxiao said lightly. This is the culture of our Huaxia people. When I heard of it, a gentleman is never tired of loyalty. In war, there is no such thing as deceit. Khalil was stunned. What do you mean? Wan Guangxiao ignored him and told the representatives of the other countries the ancient story of Huaxia. In 633 BC, there was a war between Chu and Song. Song couldn't win, so they asked for help from Jin. In the spring of the second year, Duke Wan of Jin sent troops to attack Chu's allies, Chao and Wei. He wanted them to break off relations with Chu before allowing them to recover. Chu was enraged. They removed their siege on Song and came to fight with Jin. Everyone looked at Wan Guangxiao seriously and listened to his story. Anyone who could sit in this position and participate in this kind of meeting was an intelligent person. They knew how great the wisdom of the ancient people of Huaxia was. Even if Wan Guangxiao had nothing to do with the chip system, they would listen seriously, hoping to steal the wisdom in the story and use it on themselves. Wan Guangxiao continued. When Duke Wan of Jin was Chong Er's son, he was persecuted by his stepmother and fled to Chu. King Chengwang of Chu treated him well. King Chengwang asked Chong Er how to repay him. Chong Er said, "You have beautiful women and silk. What can I give you? If I can return to power thanks to you, if there is a war between the two countries, I will retreat. If Chu still can't forgive me, both sides will fight." Everyone was listening intently, so Khalil didn't know how to interrupt. In order to fulfill his promise, Duke Wan of Jin ordered a 90-mile retreat. The Chu kingdom's general, Ziyu, led the Chu kingdom's army to press on. At that time, the Chu state had joined forces with other countries and had a very strong military force. Although Jin nation had also joined forces with Qi and Song nation, their military strength was still relatively weak. Jin Wengong's uncle said that he had heard of a saying before. For a gentleman who paid attention to etiquette, one should be more loyal and trustworthy to gain the other party's trust. In a battle of life and death, there was no harm in using more deceit to confuse the other party. We can try to deceive the enemy. Wan Guangxiao looked around and said, Duke Wan of Jin listened to Zidan's strategy. First, he defeated the Chu army's right wing, which was formed by the Chen and Kai armies. Then, the main force pretended to retreat and lured the Chu army's left wing to chase after them. The left wing of the Chu army was defeated, and the middle army was forced to retreat. In the Battle of Chengpu, the weak defeated the strong. All is fair in war. Wan Guangxiao said so much just to explain that there was no such thing as too much deception in war. However, this was not a straightforward explanation. He wanted the representatives of the other countries to understand a principle for themselves. If Wan Guangxiao said this principle himself, it would lose its credibility. However, if the representatives of the other countries understood it, it would feel different. With just a little deception, Khalil admitted that you had shut down the chip system. Russia's Karla Tchaikovsky slammed the table and stood up. You Americans are looking down on us too much. Karla Tchaikovsky had never feared a direct confrontation with Khalil. However, most of the time, he did not want to pay attention to Khalil because he knew Khalil's character too well. Now that he had enough evidence, Karla Tchaikovsky naturally would not let Khalil go. What kind of research did you do? You must tell us immediately. Otherwise, our cooperation will be terminated. So be it. Khalil had no intention of continuing the cooperation. In any case, we are here to discuss the termination of our cooperation. You secretly obtained the results you wanted, and then you want to terminate it. Karla Tchaikovsky sneered. Aren't you thinking too simply? Then what do you want? Karla Tchaikovsky slammed his hands on the table. Share the results of your secret research. We don't care if the cooperation is terminated or continued. It's up to you. Khalil shook his head. I don't have time to joke with you. The United States did not do any research behind your back. Even if... Khalil suddenly stopped. He realized that in this kind of situation, he should not be too confrontational with the people of other countries. It would not do him any good. Even if you have studied it, you won't tell us, right? Wan Guangxiao didn't give him a chance to take back his words and immediately added on. Bai Khalil immediately denied it. I didn't mean that. You better not talk nonsense. Every time he met Wan Guangxiao always made it impossible for him to control the situation. Therefore, Wan Guangxiao was a very annoying person. At this time, not only did Wan Guangxiao target him, but Karla Tchaikovsky also began to target him. Bai Khalil had no choice but to look for help. His gaze naturally fell on his little lackey. Okamura was startled. He knew very well how much the United States had gone overboard in this matter. But Bai Khalil had already signaled to him that if he did not stand on the United States' side and deal with Xia and Russia, the United States would definitely be furious. If the United States was furious, their prime minister would be the one to suffer. And if their prime minister suffered, Okamura would naturally not have a good time. This was a series of problems. Therefore, Okamura stood up very seriously and said, Wan Guangxiao, in my opinion, there's no need to resort to trickery when dealing with our partners. But you actually used Xia's despicable methods on your partners. That's really despicable. Despicable? Despicable? Wan Guangxiao sneered. He really wanted to hear what else Okamura had to say. Yes. You Xia people have always been known for scheming, so it's not difficult for me to guess that this must be a trap deliberately designed by you to make us mistakenly think that Mr. Bai Khalil and the United States had done something wrong to us. In fact, things are not like that. Okamura said sternly. Wan Guangxiao could not help but laugh out loud. Ha ha ha, Okamura, even if you want to add soles to someone's shoes, you need to have a certain level of skill. You can't do it so blatantly. Then what do you think all this means to us? You're slandering me. Okamura naturally did not admit it. However, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Okamura was trying to curry favor with Bai Khalil. Moreover, Japan's international status, economic system, and even military system relied on the United States. Therefore, everyone knew that they were trying to curry favor with the United States. I don't want to talk too much nonsense with you, but you'd better not talk too much nonsense with me. Wan Guangxiao said. Right now, we're questioning Bai Khalil. It has nothing to do with you, Okamura. Your sudden interruption makes me suspect that Japan has received benefits and information from the United States. In terms of scheming, everyone present was trash in front of Wan Guangxiao. Wan Guangxiao's strategy of using someone else to do his dirty work. Not only did it make Bai Khalil speechless, but it also made Okamura feel troubled. Little guy, it seems like you've really received benefits from him. Karla Tchaikovsky stared coldly at Okamura. If you want me to believe you, then show me evidence. If you can't, then don't blame me for not going easy on you. Okamura had never dared to say anything in front of Karla Tchaikovsky because some of the Russians' methods were too ruthless. Okamura knew that Japan did not dare to provoke Russia, so he could only swallow his anger in front of Karla Tchaikovsky. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.